Here's the story of a bunch of podcasts who were bringing Cubby content to the world. All of them did their own show. Unconnected, obsessive baseball nerds. It's the story of a bunch of Cubs fans who are consolidating all their shows. They're uniting, doing it together, so we all can grow. Cup of Cubby Blues combining with Sunranto, baseball rabbit hole and Cubs PS Plus. With Cubs Pod and breaks behind the ivy, they're all teaming up to be the Bleacher Bunch, the Bleacher Bunch. We love the Cubs, that's the way we became the Bleacher Bunch.
Hey, welcome to the Bleacher Bunch. We are back. I am your host running the show today, Cubes fan Michael Cotton. I am joined by Mike Waller over there and Sarah Sanchez gracing us with her newly returned to Chicago-ness. And right now we're in what, 3 different cities? Mike's out there on the coast. I'm in I'm in Iowa City. Sarah, you got to hold it down for the actual Chicago situation here.
I'm on it. It's cold here, like extremely cold. I was visiting my family in Utah for the Thanksgiving holiday, and Utah gets cold, but it does not get like 1 degree frigid cold. It gets like 35. Right. So it's been a little bit of a shock to the system, but I'll be fine.
Yeah, I was complaining all day today that it was cold, and it's like 47 degrees in Charlotte. So,
oh my God, we didn't break double digits. We didn't break double digits today. I was just in Hawaii not long ago, and I got a nice sunburn. Played in the ocean. Got to see some whales. Like, it was great. And then I came back, and it almost immediately started snowing. But but. Maybe I should actually properly introduce this show. Welcome to the Bleacher Bunch on the Fans First Sports Network. This show is brought to you by all of our Patreon supporters who give us a little bit of money every month, and we really appreciate it. That is why we do it. But we also have Blake Beard and Rogue Wave Creative giving us, supporting us at a much higher level than most others, and I mean, that's awesome. So We'll actually call them out by name. And then we have In the Clutch shirts, our friend Billy down there, the Reds fans helping us out. Go to In the Clutch. It's Christmas time. Hit up In the Clutch. Get yourself some cool shirts. And Matt Kammerer's Permanent Paintings on Etsy, where you can go and you can get cool things like this Kyle Schwarber that I have right here. You cannot get this because that was deemed illegal. This is the only place you can see it. That's my Caitlin Clark. But that's it. Tonight, we are going to catch up on all the Cubs signings since we last did a show. I think the last time we actually did a show, they hadn't even gotten into the free agent period. And then we're going to talk about analytics and why doubles and triples are disappearing. Sarah has an article about Rob Manfred's fan council that we're going to dig into. And then we're going to finish off with our thoughts on Danny's Cubs pod that he did yesterday. He brought up some good points about Cubs happiness that I kind of wanted to get Mike and Sarah's take on this. And for anybody in the chat, when we get there, like, let us know what you think about these things as well. So before we hit that very first thing, though, thank you to the Lost Boys for inviting us out to Haymarket Brewery a couple weeks ago. We went, had a really good brunch, great beers at Haymarket, the Sunranto Show, and the Ranters. We got an award. It was the most valuable partner, and I have a picture here, or I don't have a picture. I had a picture. I'm going to bring up a picture, but yeah, a bunch of people went to Never mind. I can't find it. Sorry.
This is what happens when Danny's out of town.
Yeah. Well, I was doing this right before the show. I was setting up and getting pictures. I'll get it before the end of the show, but just because then I'll actually have the people who are in the pic like actually there, and I can name off their names because I cannot remember everybody right this moment. But
you kind of sound like Bob Uecker in Major League there for a second. Christ, I can't find it.
No, truly,
Yeah.
like the last time I tried to host when Danny was out of town, I had full intentions of doing a Cubs Pod roundup thing that he does. And I tried to record it like 7 times and I could not nail it. And I was just like, whatever, we're not doing it. We're cutting it.
Right. Just do it live. Yeah.
Skip it live.
Yeah. But it was awesome. It was a great afternoon. We went there. Danny made a very nice speech talking about how baseball brings people together, bringing the North Side and the South Side together, and how it's brought all of us, anybody who is on this show, who's listening and on the podcast, watching on YouTube, the ranters, we've all come together. It's been ostensibly over baseball, but it's grown into so much more than that, a lot of you are like my actual friends, even though I may not have ever physically been in the same place that you are. So, but hey, that's the 21st century. We have friends that only exist on the computer, right? So,
yes.
But yeah, it was very nice. We do appreciate it. We actually give Lost Boys a little bit of that Patreon money. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you are also supporting the Lost Boys. But don't let it just be that. Go out to the Lost Boys site and start donating to them directly as well. So but that's it. Let's get into this Act 1. All of the signings up to this point. Now, I don't know most of these minor league players.
I was going to say, are we going to have enough time in the show to talk about all this action?
No, we're not going to talk about it.
Most of these players do not merit conversation.
Yeah, this is a Cubs fan podcast. We don't talk about the players. We talk about the fans. No, so I'm going to go through. I'm going to give you a one-word yes, no. Or whatever you want, like Cubs cubes, like whatever you just generally think, or maybe you don't know anything about them because, like I said, I don't know a lot of these guys. So the minor league signings, Juan De Jesus, an outfielder, Cubs, cubes.
My shrug emoji.
The only thing I know is De Jesus. Like, we had David De Jesus a long time ago, and so I'm like, oh, that's a name I sort of recognize. It's not like every Latin person can just have the same name. It's like Smith, but hey, I'm going to go with he must be related to David De Jesus.
I don't know, man. Latino names are extremely common. So sorry to jump in and derail.
What are you talking about, Sarah Sanchez?
Yeah, right.
I've never heard your last name ever.
Derailing the rundown immediately, but when I was hanging out with a league I play fantasy baseball in, we were having this conversation and the subject came up. What if you could draft by last name and get every player of that last name? And I was like, oh, you would obviously start with the Latinos because you can get Garcia.
Oh, yeah.
Garcia gets you so many guys. Hernandez gets you a bunch of guys. Ramirez is a great name to draft. You got to go Latino on the names if you're going that way. But anyway.
Well, yeah, you would want to be high in that draft, right? Because
Jones gets you Nolan Jones, but not very much else. But Garcia, Hernandez, Sanchez, these get you wild numbers of players.
I sometimes feel like the Cubs front office will just take anybody named Alcantara. We've had 4 of them since 2014. I think we've had 4 or 5 different Alcantaras on this team. And the great part about it is regardless, we just say that name wrong every time. I just go with Alcantara. I have no idea if it's correct, but there's been too many of them to worry about it now.
Good enough.
Yeah.
It's better than trying to get all fan. One of my pet peeves is when people try to say names that they don't know how to pronounce. It's Alcantara. It's like no. Like, don't get too into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need people trying to be like Sarah Sanchez. Like, I don't need that. Like, just Sarah Sanchez. Like, it's fine. We're in America. It's fine.
And then we'll hit you with the actual Spain, right?
Yeah,
Sarah
no, we're not
Sanchez.
we're not doing that. Like, I actually wrote a piece about this years ago for Baseball Prospectus in I think it was their short relief series, when I was watching the Nationals in the playoffs, and Anibal Sanchez, they like kept saying his name differently the entire game. And I was like, this is awful. Anyway, sorry. I've already derailed the rundown enough. Let's keep going.
That's exactly how I feel about Alcantara. Like, you'll hear Alcantara. Like, you just they just do whatever they want because nobody knows, and they're all too afraid to like just commit to one of them.
Well, and the players don't want to correct guys because the players are like, man, this is my shot. Like, I'm not gonna correct people. So anyway, fun fact, MLB produces a publicly available pronunciation guide every year. You can find it in the media resources, and you should use it if you're wondering how to pronounce players' names.
Oh, just go to Baseball Reference. It's right there. They give you a phonetic of their names. Like, you can do it. But no, just recently, I believe David Kaplan was talking on his show about Eugenio Suarez, right?
Well, and like
he said that, but I think he was doing it because he was like trying to make it easier for these idiot English speakers who don't know how to do Eugenio.
Well, and let me just say, the one exception to this, the guy who always gets it right, even though sometimes he does do like the really exceptional pronunciation, is Pat Hughes is perfect, and every pronunciation he does is correct. Wilson Contreras forever. Like, it's incredible. I love it. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, he definitely hits the Contreras. Yes. Like,
and that is what the pronunciation guide says you should say. For the record, I've looked at it.
That is true, but it is very that's very much an old white guy saying it. That's why
but he's grandfathered in. He's all of our grandfather. It's fine.
Yeah.
He puts in the effort.
I love it too. All right. So number 2.
And there's not an Alcantara on this list, for the record.
No, there's not. Sergio Patino. He's a catcher. Cubs, Cubes. What you got?
Shrug emoji.
Sure, why not?
No idea.
Minor league free agent. Who cares?
The only thing I can think is like, hey, we need more catchers, just in case our catchers all fall apart.
Does he hang out in parking lots? That worked out well last year.
Well, right. There's not always a catcher in a parking lot. And when you do find one, you want to wait until he gets out of the car.
By the way, speaking of catchers, and I swear to God, I'm not going to make each of these go like 5 minutes, but I was at the Arizona Fall League at the start of November, and I got to see Owen Ayers up close and personal. He was in the Fall Stars game, and he looks like he looks good as a catcher. Like, the defense passes the eye test. I got a chance to talk to Eric Longenhagen at Fangraphs about him, and I wrote a piece about it. When I was looking at catcher options, if the Cubs wanted to supplement the Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly situation. But anyway, keep your eye on Owen Ayers. He's still like in high A ball, so it's going to be a minute. But his defense looks incredible.
Right. No, that's good. I mean, I always like to hear from people who have actually seen these guys because, again, I just said 2 names. We don't even know who they are. So, Owen Ayers, I'm not saying his name because they didn't sign him.
Well, he's already
right. He's already there. But we're going to get a few of those too. Dylan Guzman, shortstop. Any ideas? Cubs? Sure.
Nope.
Luis Palencia, second baseman. Nope. Minor league guy. Jace Beck, a right-hand pitcher.
I have actually heard of Jace Beck, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
His name's Jace.
Yeah, whatever. That's common these days. That's a new name. That's a newfangled name.
Somebody got tired writing Jason, and they just quit halfway through.
Oh, see, I always thought it was somebody trying to be cute with like a play on the name Chase.
Oh,
Chase with a J.
Oh, well, and I don't know anything about it. Maybe it's Hayes. Maybe
Yeah, who knows?
he's Latino and it's
Hase.
we're Hase.
It was Hase.
Yeah.
Hase Beck.
Okay, that's actually a good name. I
It's
like
definitely not Hase Beck.
that. But if my name was Jace, I think I'd start telling everybody it's Hase. I like Hase. All right, Scott Kingery, another second baseman.
I actually do have an opinion about this. And a handful of years ago, I wanted the Cubs to try out a Scott Kingery rehabilitation program because I really think he got messed up by being rushed to the majors too fast by the Phillies. If y'all remember, he got kind of like rushed to the majors, played for the Phillies for a year, was terrible. They sent him back to the minors, but they had already signed him to an extension based on like a really quick minute of work. And so the Cubs, it's funny because the Cubs basically waited until they wouldn't have to pay any of that money to be in on Scott Kingery. Anyway, he's kind of like one of these utility guys that Jed Hoyer likes so much, and he has demonstrated that he can hang once in a while, and I would not expect anything to come from the Scott Kingery signing. If it does, it's found money.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Dylan Guzman, Luis Palencia, and Scott Kingery. Shortstop, 2 second basemen. Those are probably all 3 utility guys, and they're just seeing what they can do. Yeah. And then, we're finally done with these minor league guys. Sam Mettert.
Nope.
Never heard of him.
He is a right-handed pitcher. I have never heard of him either. So, all right, good.
We have one guy we're all like, hey, we've heard of him.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Sorry,
know what?
2 guys. My apologies to Jace Beck, who is just like a everyday garden variety reliever.
Right. But that's the thing. It's like they're signing these guys to these minor league deals. And again, we've talked about this and we're about to go into the major league guys here in just a second. And most of them weren't new guys. They're just getting picked up from the minor leagues and put on the 40-man. So it's, not a great list, but it's all because the Cubs need to fill that minor league system with just as many people as they can because they are not going to be able to sign anybody this year that's any good. And they're just going to have to fill spots. But, all right. So, major leagues. The Cubs selected James Triantos, second baseman. He's now on the 40-man. And we all know a little bit about him. He is, I believe he's made his big league debut already. No, not yet. Okay.
No,
he'd have to be on the 40-man if he had done
Yeah, I have a question
right,
about this. Did he get added to the 40-man before he was forced to be added to the 40-man, or was this a Rule 5 protection?
No, this is a Rule 5. All of these guys are
but
Rule 5.
all of these are just guys who, like, if they had not been added to the 40-man, they would have been eligible in the Rule 5 draft, so the Cubs had to do it, or else they risked losing them.
And I think all three of them would realistically have a good shot of being drafted.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Triantos is interesting. He was the Cubs' second round pick in 2021. Legitimate second base candidate, kind of, doesn't have a lot of power. The power ceiling is really low, but has a decent hit tool and he's fast. Remains to be seen how good of a defender he is. Don't think Nico Horner. Think like Christopher Morel.
Yeah.
He's played some third too, but mostly second base.
Yeah, but if he was any good at third, he would, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like Matt Shaw lapped him at third pretty fast.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, Christopher Morel.
But he could be a utility player.
That might actually be too low. Like I might be too low on Triantos' defense, but he's not Nico. Like Nico was a really good defender at second who could also, you could see him potentially hitting 300 someday. And I don't think Triantos is that.
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, Nico still needs another 100 at bats in AAA before he can truly have a spot on this team. So I've actually heard of James Triantos. We talked about him enough last year in different contexts that I was like, I can't remember if he was with the team already or not. Like I just didn't, if he had come up, because how many of these guys come up, they get I don't know, one at bat, and then they sit on the bench for a week, and then they disappear, and we are just kind of like, we have no idea what happened to those guys. And I thought maybe Triantos was one of those guys last year, but I guess not. Pedro Ramirez got picked up from, I believe, the Knoxville Smokies. He got put on the 40-man. Riley Martin, he is a left-handed pitcher. He is now on the 40-man. So those are the three guys that they pulled out of their minor leagues to protect from the Rule 5 draft.
I'll be surprised if we don't see Riley Martin in the bullpen this year at some point.
Well, especially since like a huge amount of their bullpen are free agents right now. The bullpen that we had are all free agents. And so I'm sure the Cubs will probably get a few of them back. You know what I mean? But they're going to get out on the market and see if they can get a few years from somebody. And the Cubs aren't giving anybody years. They might give them money, but they're not giving years.
I don't think they're giving money either. The discourse on the Cubs and their willingness to spend money right now is extremely depressing. And we should probably talk about that at the end of this conversation of players, because the next three guys are interesting. But like, I've been saying for multiple years that the Cubs are just not going to do big deals and they're not going to act like a big market team. And I wanted them at every turn to prove me wrong. Like, I've wanted to like get a ping on my phone that the Cubs did some mega deal and I was wrong, and I am not wrong. And it's just very depressing.
Yeah. Well, and on the flip side, I've been the other way. So I've been the last couple off seasons, I've done podcast after podcast talking about all the reasons why they should, all the reasons why they might. I pulled all the evidence because Theo was able to convince Tom to spend. Tom has spent before. So it's not like he never would or never will, but this combo of him and Jed is just not going to happen. And I've frankly given up on the idea. I mean, like,
go ahead.
I'm not wasting my, I'm just going to say I'm not wasting my breath this offseason. Like,
I'm going to go through these players here real quick. I'm sure we'll have things to say, and then we will get right into this. This is the conversation that these players will be leading to. So before we may as well get this out of the way so that then we can just talk.
Okay.
All right. So Colin Ray, $5.5 million.
I'm a fan.
I love it. I'm totally down with that.
You know what? I've watched. So, fun fact about Colin Ray. Colin Ray has been one of these fringe, like sort of 6-starter fantasy baseball streamer guys for a handful of years. And he has won me multiple fantasy baseball leagues. Because the thing about Colin Ray is he is very good as a spot starter, as long as he's pitching outside of the NL Central. And I think that's a familiarity thing. I'm no shade to Colin Ray, but I do think that as guys see him more often, they hit him hard. But it's because he doesn't pitch predictably. His pitches go in places where you don't expect them to. And so the first time that a team sees Colin Ray, and you'll notice Craig Counsell never lets that dude stay in past the 5th inning. It's like you get two looks at him and you are done. He's extremely effective in that role. I love it. Great. Glad he's still here.
Well, and you have to have 9-10 starters, no matter what team you are, who you have. Any team in baseball could use a Colin Ray in their group of top 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, for me, I think the only question is, does he slot in ahead of Javier Assad or behind Javier Assad? Because coming into last year, I would have said Javier Assad was ahead of him. But after all of the oblique stuff and some of the struggles down the stretch, I think Colin Ray might be ahead of Javier Assad right now. But that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And ultimately it doesn't matter, in my opinion. Like, Waller was saying, you need 9 guys. Like this idea that we're going to have 5 and they're going to slot a certain way is going to go out the window a week and a half into the season, and you're just going to have to start figuring things out. And which is exactly why Colin Ray got the opportunity that he got last year, because Steele went down and there was openings and they had to fill these things up. He had a great year. The big deal with this one is not so much that he got the 5.5 in 26, but technically it's an extension for 27, because he'll get $7.5 million if the club option gets picked up in 2027, or it's a $1 million buyout. I think I know where we're going with this.
I mean,
they could go with the $7.5 million pickup, but
a guy who can make 20 starts for $7.5 million is nothing.
100% agree. Like $7.5 million is cheap for what Colin Ray can give you. As long as he's not hurt and it doesn't blow up entirely, I think they probably pick that up because you can't get that type of innings volume at $7.5 million on the open market.
Yeah, right. No.
And,
totally agree.
And the buyout gives them a choice. Like if this year doesn't go well, they can walk away. But
love anything as much as Carter and Jed love mediocre pitchers.
Absolutely. But the thing that is going to hang over this entire season is the 2027 CBA and whether or not they're going to play at all.
Well, we're getting to that with the fan cancel. That's part of the fan cancel.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then Shota Imanaga took the qualifying offer, $22.025 million. And that's a good deal for Shota. I was talking.
It's a win-win.
I was talking with Mike on the Discord before this happened, sort of thinking that this might happen. The big surprise was that according to sources, we don't know who that is or whatever, but they were saying that the Cubs were kind of taken by surprise on this, that he took the qualifying offer.
I heard it was reported. I don't know that I believe it.
I heard that too.
I heard the reports, but it just seems so potentially obvious that, like, I don't know. I don't know how you could be shocked by that.
I heard those reports too. I mean, I whatever, reports are reports. Like $22 million is about what Shota should get in an annual contract value on the open market. He had kind of a down season with some home run issues down the stretch, which was always the concern people had with him coming over from Japan. Mm-hmm. It was that his particular repertoire would be susceptible to long balls, and that happened. And so he kind of needs to reset what people think about him in order to get more than $22.025 million. So I look at this as Shota betting on himself. I look at this as a huge win for Cubs fans because we get Showtime back at Wrigley Field. He is one of the most fun players on the roster, one of my favorite players on the roster. I was kind of devastated when the Cubs did all this dance with his contract. And so honestly, I love it. And I also think it's kind of funny that this hampered the Cubs plans, that like that $22 million was going somewhere else. Sure. I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, they were going to go get Bellinger with it, and now I guess we're not getting Bellinger.
They don't need Bellinger. they have a logjam in the outfield.
I'm making jokes.
I'm bad at jokes today. I'm bad at jokes today, Cotton.
No, Lil Yumper posted in there that George Offerman was the one that reported it, that they were kind of taken by surprise on this. This is a good deal for Shota. He has made $23 million to this point. So he basically just doubled his career earnings for this 1 year. He's going to be a little older. And I honestly don't know that a lot of teams are going to give him much. Had he gone free agency, right? Who's going to go more than 2 years for a guy who's already 32 years old? And with everyone knowing that the 2027 may not happen, it's a smart move for him. Take the 22, double your career earnings, go be a free agent. If 2027 happens, somebody will pick you up for a year, right? You'll be able to take year and year and year, but this is going to be his biggest payday. And if this season doesn't happen, he just goes back to Japan and plays there if he wants.
I don't think we're going to have a lost season. And I think Shota wants to prove that he can be. I've heard this theory. Like I get where people are coming from, but I do think that Shota wants to prove he can play in America in Major League Baseball. But I love this. I'm glad Shota thwarted the Cubs' plans here. I think that I would rather see Shota than whatever else they were going to do with that $22 point whatever $1 million.
I totally agree. Now,
well, I think, Sarah, I think you made a good point about resetting the expectations. So for him, it's expectations on the market. But when he came over, there was a chance he could be good. But like we all looked at him as like a 3, right? Like when he first came over from Japan, then he had a great season, got off to a good start this year, and people were starting to talk about him like an ace.
Yes.
And that was just never the realistic expectation. And then you throw in the fact that he was injured last year. I'm not convinced he wasn't pitching hurt at the end of the season with some of those home run issues. So it is a chance for him to reset the board and take a shot. And the Cubs get a guy who has shown he can be a quality major league pitcher.
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, Little Yumper has a thing here, Jesse Rogers bit, but I'm, one of the things that I wondered about with Shota down the stretch was if he was tipping his pitches at all, because it really did seem like teams were kind of sitting on certain pitches and then hammering them. And that's usually a sign that something with your motion is tipping pitches. And I will not pretend to be a person who can see what the tipping is until it's pointed out to me. But the results looked very tipping-ish to me.
Yeah. Yumper says Jesse Rogers said the Cubs asked Shota to put on more weight, to throw harder, and it threw off his mechanics a little bit, and he got hurt. And I think that's exactly kind of, you mentioned the mechanics, tipping the pitches could be a thing. So this is a good idea, I think, for him in every aspect, right? Because if a season doesn't happen, I'm not saying that he wants to go back to Japan. I'm just saying that he has options that maybe some of these other guys don't necessarily have options. And knowing what he knows now, he may be able to come back next season doing it the way that he wanted to do it in the first place and have another like good season like he had that first year. And I would say if he does have a good season, I don't want to hear anyone give Jed credit for Shota Imanaga. I'm tired of this shit. People have been giving Hoyer credit for Imanaga all these years that he's been good, but everybody forgets Hoyer didn't go get him. Fucking Imanaga moved to Chicago, told the Cubs he wanted to play there. All Hoyer had to do was pay him. That's it. And it wasn't even an exorbitant amount. Like I said, he's going to make as much this year. He's going to make 99% of his entire career earnings this year. He's basically doubling his career earnings this season when Jed didn't want him. So this is just one of those things. Shota showed up. Everybody gives Jed props for a good season. Then Jed tells him to do some shit, fucks him up. He has a bad season. He's going to come back for the 22, which Jed didn't want. So everybody, just please, when you're talking about Shota Imanaga, take any good mention of Jed Hoyer out of your fucking mouth. I don't want to hear it anymore. And then we will. So
dude, the party this podcast is gonna throw when Jed Hoyer is no longer in charge of the Cubs, it's gonna be epic.
Oh
like it is going to be the place to be.
Yeah. Oh,
as long as the successor is not Carter Hawkins. I gotta say, the only thing I wanted for Christmas this year was for Carter Hawkins to get hired by another team, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, it is a disheartening situation. The final guy that we have is Phil Maton, or Maton? Maton?
It's Maton.
Maton, yeah. So this one is actually a 2-year deal. I mean, I was like trying to look at it. I'm like, is this a 2-year deal?
There's an option for a third.
There is an option for a third. This is where we're at. Like I have been saying all offseason, I've had some conversations with some people, I will say, and everybody's like, no, the Cubs will sign somebody. And I'm like, no, they're not signing anybody beyond 2 years. And just because there's an option for that third year, it's $5.5 million the first year, $6 million in 27, and that club option in the third year is $8.5 million or a $3 million buyout.
So I'm pretty sure I know why this deal is what it is, which I agree. It's kind of surprising that there's multiple years here. And I think I see what the Cubs see here. I wrote about this when the signing happened over at Bleed Cubby Blue, the Phil Maton signing by the numbers. So he is, well, first of all, he's an extremely durable reliever, or at least has been over the last 5 years. So since 2021, he has thrown at least 60 innings in every season that he has pitched. Those innings have not generally been elite, but they've been very good. So I ran a search on Fangraphs for every reliever who had at least 60 innings in the last 5 years, and there were 430 of them. By certain metrics, Maton ranks 73rd. So it's whatever, that's great. You'd rather have a guy who's in the top quarter of that than a guy who's in the bottom quarter of that. But the fact that he has done that 5 years running, that's a lot of innings for a reliever. And the fact that he hasn't gotten hurt doing that is a pretty good sign. You are probably going to get above average innings from him, and you're probably going to get more than 60 of them, which is great. But the more interesting thing is this. So he's kind of a tinkerer. And I'm gonna read a quote that I used in my article from The Athletic. And I believe this was PJ Mooney and Will Salmon. Known around the league for his pitching IQ, Maton also reworked his mechanics, helping him boost his velocity. He's never thrown especially hard, but he increased the average velocity on his cutter from 88.7 mile per hour in 2024 to 90.6 miles per hour in 2025. With teams continuing to value velocity, it is not out of the question to think that Maton may have found a way to reach another gear. They're referring to what he did after he got traded to the Rangers. And this is where it gets extremely interesting. Because by my estimate, and I did not come up with this hat tip to the good people at Baseball HQ who have been ringing this bell for a long time and have convinced me over the years that it is true. The best stat that you can look at for a reliever to figure out how good they are is strikeout rate minus walk rate. So K minus BB. That is the stat to look for a reliever. It's how you tell how elite a reliever is. And once he got to the Rangers, with whatever he did differently that caused that velo jump, Maton struck out 36.7% of the batters he faced while walking just 8.9% of the hitters. His K minus BB with Texas was 27.8%. For comparison purposes, as a member of the Cardinals, it was only 20.9%. So he jumped that thing up 7 percentage points during his time with the Rangers. His FIP and XFIP were actually better with the Rangers, or flat, than they were with the Cardinals, even though the results were less good. And if that's true, there's a reason to think that he might be a higher caliber arm than what he was prior with his time with the Cardinals or with the Mets. And so just for reference, I went back and I sort of slotted in where would that 27.8% K minus BB rank in all of those 430 seasons that I had before. And it's actually quite good. It would have been the 21st best season by a reliever during that 5-year period, right between 2024 Jeff Hoffman at 27.5% and 2025 Griffin Jacks at 28.1%. That's elite. So I think the Cubs see elite potential in Maton, and I think this is a killer deal.
Yeah, I love it. And I think, Sarah, you and I have talked a couple times about the kinds of arms like we wanted to see Jed go get last year. It's a higher tier. Now, this is not Edwin Diaz. He's not going to be the Cubs closer and get 35 saves, but he's effective. He's been effective for a really long time. I'm looking at a Baseball Savant page, and even though his fastball velo is 3rd percentile in 2025, I mean, his K rate is 95th percentile and his whiff rate is 98th percentile. So he's a guy that does something that a lot of the Cubs pitchers haven't done. He gets swing and miss. And if he can stay healthy, and I think, whether takes Brad Keller's role, whatever, but I think he's a guy you can just trust to put out there in the 7th, 8th inning, put in a leverage spot. Just the Cubs need more of those leverage guys that you don't have to pay $20 million a year for a closer, but go get really good pitchers who can fill up your innings late in the game.
Absolutely. And I think that if you have, so assume Daniel Palencia stays Daniel Palencia, doesn't get hurt. Assume Ben Brown moves to the pen in a high leverage role, which I think he should. I think we have seen that Ben Brown is not a starter, but he could be a really good reliever. and then couple that with Maton and go get like one or two more guys. That's actually a really good pen. Like
maybe Porter Hodge finds it again.
That's a really good pen. So I like this signing a lot, and I'm not one to just throw compliments to Jed and company.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't give it too much credit. I mean, he's got him for 1 year, which is all he needed. The second year is a freaking coin flip, and then if they don't like him, they just get rid of him in the third year.
Yeah.
So this is like the longest.
But this is the market for what that kind of reliever gets.
And that's a good deal for that type of. If you think you've got a reliever who is durable, who tinkers,
I'm not saying it's not a good deal.
No. I don't think you are. I'm speaking to the crowd here. If you think you've got a reliever who's durable and who is tinkering with stuff and found another level, but is still being valued as the old durable guy, that's a bargain, right? Like you are getting a potentially really good reliever for less money than you would have to pay normally. The last thing I just want to say, Rick Graham, who's an analyst over at Pitcher List and does a great job with relievers, responded to my piece over on Blue Sky, and he said that Maton went back to his 2023 pitch usage, plus adding 2 miles per hour to his fastball cutter, which we just talked about. The pitch had better shape and a better zone rate. The curveball also had better location. So again, there's a question as to whether he can sustain that. But if he can, we're looking at real changes that he made, and he's probably going to be a better pitcher for the Cubs than he was with the Cardinals.
Right. Well, let's hope so. I don't know. It doesn't move the needle much for me. I do notice, though, it's basically the same money that they're offering Colin Ray.
Yes.
It's like the exact same money next year. It's slightly less if they keep Colin Ray in 27. So it'll be interesting to see. But we were talking, as soon as we brought this up, we started talking about the CBA and how all this is going to shake out and how they're going to do these contracts. And this right here is like this version is the longest version of a contract I think that we will see this year. 2 years with a possible third if they want. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see how we're going to get anybody else. And that is the problem right now with this team. And what we were talking about before was whether or not they would spend money or not, right? And what we're seeing here is obviously the $22 million for Shota wasn't planned, maybe. Like, they weren't expecting to do that. They were going to use that money somewhere else. But now they have to actually spend it, which is nice. But here's the thing that I have always noticed about the idea of the Ricketts, whether or not they're cheap or not. A lot of people talk about how they spend right up to the first luxury tax. Sometimes they go over it. They have in the past. They haven't done it here in a while, except for when they screwed up. But they go right up to that luxury tax. And people are like, well, how can you call them cheap when they'll spend that much money and the Brewers won't and the Reds won't and whatever? It's like, well, the thing is the years. They keep doing this little thing where they're like, well, we're going to spend $230 million, but we're only going to commit that $230 this year. How many off seasons have we heard they have $60 million coming off the books? They have $80 million coming off the books. And we keep expecting, like, okay, they're going to use that to go sign some people. And they never really do. They keep doing these 2-year contracts for mediocre players. They don't make a big splash. And it's just, so I guess what I wanted to like kind of clarify, they aren't cheap season to season, but they're cheap in the long run because they won't commit real money into the future. They'll only do it because what's the old adage? I think Theo Epstein coined it, was there's never a bad 1-year contract.
Sure.
They don't mind spending money on a 1-year deal, but they just will not go out beyond that. And because that takes actually a little bit of guts to be able to do that. And you need to have a lot of faith in your team, your development, all of that stuff to take a guy into the future. The only one that they've taken like that at all is Dansby. But that's because they had to get a shortstop that year. And he went for like half of what the next guy got in that group of 4, right?
Yeah, he had the lowest contract by far. Now, admittedly, I don't know. That's an interesting question, revisiting the Dansby Swanson deal, because would any of us have wanted them to give the money that Corey Seager or Trey Turner, who was Marcus Semien got? Like, I mean, I don't know, man. Bogarts, like those don't look like great deals to me right now. But I will say,
I wanted Bogarts until it hit 11 years.
Always expect the Cubs front office to buy the Prius rather than the Porsche.
Yep.
Always. And Dansby Swanson.
They'll get the Prius with the leather, but it's still a Prius.
Dansby Swanson, I love the dude, is a Prius, man. Like, he's reliable. He makes the plays he's supposed to. He's not a terrible hitter, but he's not a heart of the lineup hitter. What's he hitting these days? 6, 7, something like that. Yeah. Like, it's the Cubs. I'll just take a step back. I think Jed Hoyer is terrified of having a deal like the Jason Hayward deal hung around his neck. And the reason he will never be half the president of baseball operations that Theo Epstein was is because Theo was not scared of that. Theo did lots of deals that were bad, and he did lots of deals that were good, but he did big deals because he understood that you couldn't win in this game without big deals. And that meant that he also sometimes had to do big contract swaps. Like, I remember when he got rid of Carl Crawford's contract by also trading Adrian Gonzalez, who's having a great year with the Red Sox. But, that was the price of getting that money off the books. And then they went and signed somebody else. Jed is cautious to a fault and wants to be seen as always right and smart. And Dansby is the smarter money than Correa or Seager or Turner. But those other guys were better in the short term and probably worth the money they got.
Well, for me, I think the argument often gets framed in the wrong way. So people will just say they're cheap. Objectively, they're middle of the pack. Where I get frustrated, especially now, the more I watch this, is I see how expensive the fan experience is. I see what they ask the fans to put in on a daily basis to get season tickets, to buy a $45 beer bat and all those things. And then they float around with the 10th, 13th, 15th, maybe up to 9th highest payroll. And so that's where it's frustrating. And I think there's an advantage they're not pressing because they're in a division where nobody else spends. And the Brewers pretty clearly develop better than the Cubs do. The Cardinals did for a long time, but I don't think that organization's kind of a trash heap right now, which I love.
I agree. It's great.
The Reds kind of do the best they can with what they have. I respect what they do. And then Bob Nutting is Bob Nutting and does nothing in Pittsburgh. And so the Cubs have an opportunity they don't do a terrible job developing players, but they're not as good as the Brewers. But I think they're good enough that they could outspend. They could win this division easily year after year after year, or put the pressure on the other teams to figure out a way to spend or do something better. And they just kind of float along that whole mindset that so many GMs have right now of let's get to 87 wins and maybe we'll get a little bit lucky. And it's just, it's frustrating. Like I grew up on Sandberg and Dawson and Grace, and I watched the Cubs piss away Greg Maddux over stupidity. But then I saw them have Sammy Sosa, and they gave Soriano the biggest contract in baseball at the time that they signed him. Like the Cubs have done this before this ownership group. And the Cubs have done it with this ownership group, to your point about Theo. And I think you mentioned Carter Hawkins a few minutes ago. I think one of the worst things about this organization right now is the top two guys have the same mindset.
Yes.
I don't even care who's number one. Jed needs somebody to push his envelope.
Yeah. They need to have a little more dissension in there. And I mean, everybody
Jed probably saved Theo from a couple of calamities. I mean, that's just how he is. But
yeah,
you need the push in the poll. at the same time.
But Theo probably saved. Like the reverse is also true. Like there's a bunch.
Oh, I know. I mean, Theo was amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, Theo loved to push the envelope, and there were probably a couple times where it's good that he had somebody in the org to say, like, yeah, maybe pump the brakes on that.
100%.
Well, and here's the other thing. Like Sarah, you were just saying that Jed doesn't want to have a Jason Hayward, right? Well, Jed has a Jason Hayward. It's Dansby Swanson. Jason Hayward signed a $186 million deal, right? And what was he? He was a glove first, gold glove right fielder. He could hit a little bit sometimes. What is Dansby Swanson? Dansby Swanson is $170 million glove first shortstop. Like, it's the same deal. It's actually better because it was a few years later and money changes, money prices go up. But it's...
Well, and also Dansby compared to the shortstops, I mean, there's not as big a difference as Hayward to right fielders by the time he was...
Right.
The bat was really falling off.
Yeah, the bat was falling off. But I'm just saying it's like... To me, I'm looking at that 183 or 183 million, 176 million, whatever.
Hayward was 184 and Swanson's 177.
Yeah. That's the same contract to me. And you've got the same player, in my opinion. You have a defensive player who makes about the same amount of money, and if he hits it all, you're happy. That's it. Like, so it's funny that we don't hang that on.
Well, that amount of money is so much less given that it's 7 years later the contract was signed.
Right. And I did say that. Yeah. I mean, the money has changed, but when you're looking at it, but it's still really, I mean, it's the same thing. It's a lot of money for a player who just isn't doing what they wanted that money to do. Right. So, but for whatever reason, nobody wants to hang that on Jed, even though they hung the Hayward signing on Theo. But remember, Hayward had something that I would be blown away if Dansby ever gets, and that's a Cubs World Championship.
I think one thing I would go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go first.
I was going to say one thing I think that's a little bit different too is Hayward was the big signing, and so was Dansby for the Cubs. But that money became a bigger and bigger deal when the Cubs were not developing any pitching, and they kept having to go buy Cole Hamels for $20 million, and they had to, just had to keep buying pitching, and so that money stopped them from doing things. I look at the payroll the last few years, and what's Dansby's money stopped them from doing? I mean, it's just a different case.
It's a different stratosphere. And like, I do not remember perfectly the 2016 offseason, but if I recall correctly, Jason Hayward was the guy to sign. Like, he was the Kyle Tucker of that free agent class. The Cubs won that offseason with that deal. The problem is that it made the ownership group gun shy to do that deal ever again. And Jed is perfectly happy to play into the gun shy part of that. Honestly, stepping back, the bigger problem that I see here that drives me up a wall, it's not that they do spend money. They have a payroll that is north of 200 million every year, but they do not do the types of deals that are game changing for a franchise over the long term. Back to your original point, Cotton, that they don't extend Kyle Tucker. They don't extend the guys who could be that impact guy. I'm going to call it right now. Like, I don't think they'll get an extension done with Pete Crow Armstrong. I think that Pete Crow Armstrong has probably already exceeded the value that they would be comfortable with in terms of extending his contract a long time. And I think he's savvy enough to not sign a deal that would be team friendly. And so we're probably not going to see a Pete Crow Armstrong extension from this regime. I also think that they just would not do that deal before the 2027 CBA because they don't know what the rules are going to be, and they don't want to lock themselves into a long-term thing without knowing the rules, which might be smart from a consultant McKinsey perspective, but it is not fun from a baseball perspective. And having the Cubs, one of the 5 crown jewel franchises in this league, sitting out every offseason because they want to be smart and they want to be sure they always win the deal is fucking annoying, and I'm sick of it, and I don't like watching it. Consultant ball sucks.
Yeah. No, totally agree. Another thing I wanted to bring up though is the same time as the Hayward, they dropped 155 on John Lester, and I believe that was the biggest contract that offseason for a starting pitcher.
I'm pretty sure it's their biggest contract for a starting pitcher ever.
Yeah,
it was I think it was second. Scherzer was the same offseason. He got a
was that the same offseason?
Oh, for the Cubs. No, I'm saying for that offseason, I think sure.
Yeah, I thought Lester was the most that offseason. But yeah, he's definitely the most for a pitcher. But it's like, you know, we love to get upset about the Jason Hayward, but the John Lester was beautiful. That was a lot of money, and it worked out. And I would say that while it is possible that the Jason Hayward did not live up to that full contract. Jason Hayward was not a bad player throughout, and he was great in the clubhouse, which we know from the Justin Turners of the world, they're willing to spend the money just to have a fucking cheerleader in the outhouse or whatever. Oh, I'm sorry. Bullpen or dugout.
Listen,
outhouse.
Man, Jason Hayward earned every cent of that contract with whatever he said during the rain delay, and I will die on this hill. But also like it is telling that they just don't do deals that have that many zeros behind them and start with a 2 or a 3. They've only done them when they start with a 1. And that is no longer like you can't get anybody to sign with you for that. Like, and they're backing themselves into a corner because they're not going to be able to play the big franchise free agent game until they demonstrate that that's the game they're willing to play. And they are not as good at managing a small revenue team as the Rays or the Guardians. They're just not. And so they're caught in this like limbo of kind of a big market team, but we're not really good at it. And sometimes we get a prospect right, but a lot of times we're just letting guys go for nothing. And like, you know, there was a comment in the chat a minute ago about Kyle Schwarber. Letting Kyle Schwarber go for nothing is a criminal act. Like, they should be embarrassed for that. Like, that's the type of, you want to talk about like you're trying to be the smartest guy in the room. You cannot possibly be the smartest guy in the room when you let 200 plus home runs walk for nothing. And I will go to my grave believing, and I don't have any evidence for this. This is just like Sarah Sanchez, 2025. But like, I will go to my grave believing that's why Theo turned down the last year of his contract. He was just like, I'm not leaving with this on my resume. I would rather leave money on the table and walk.
Right. Yeah. No. And the worst part about the whole thing is they won't commit that money because that money is the years, right? Like once you start signing guys, a Dylan Cease for 7 years, it's like the cost is more than they want. But over time, that's not going to be bad. Bryce Harper, right? That was the whole thing with him. They didn't want to spend that money on Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper is now a steal at that
Great
price.
Great contract.
Mm-hmm.
Aged really well.
And they're afraid of the years. They're not afraid of the money because they spend the money every damn year, but it's not a good product because they can't get what they're looking for. They're trying to catch that lightning in the bottle every single year versus build something that's actually tangible where the players are all in it together and they all know what they're doing together and they, it's a good team. They just keep trying to build this thing. So it's like when you buy the hat that's like half the price of the other hat, and then 3 years later you've bought the same hat like 5 times, but you could have just bought the damn good hat and you would have still had it for the whole 3 years. Like that's what they do. They could just buy the good shit and have it for the next 5-6 years, or they could buy the half price stuff and keep trying to piece it all together, and we end up with the Justin Turners of the world.
The thing is, they do part of it. Part of it they do, I think, fairly well. If you have a young Pete Crow Armstrong playing it for league minimum, if you can get Drew Pomerantz and Brad Keller to fill out your bullpen for nothing because you've fixed something in them, that's what's supposed to give you the space to go take the big swing and go get somebody. And go ahead, Sarah, jump in.
Critical piece here, though. You have Pete Crow Armstrong. You're supposed to extend him before he has a 30-30 season at the age of like 23 or 24 or whatever he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the part they're missing. They don't do that. And yes, sometimes you're going to miss and you're going to extend Scott Kingery and that's going to suck. But like, sometimes you're going to nail it and you're going to have a steal in a guy who thought he was going to be a glove first guy hitting 230. And now he's like a super stud.
Well, and to add to that too, just for the, like, we all saw the atmosphere at Wrigley in the playoffs. I mean, there's nothing better.
It was so good.
It's amazing. And the fans are so hungry. We all want to be there for playoff games, screaming our heads off. Once you get to the playoffs, it's a coin flip anyway. So, like, get there consistently. But we've seen year after year after year with the Cubs, give the fans somebody to love. And
yes.
So go sign a guy.
And we're going to get into that idea. I'm going to bring that up later. But
if the Cubs give PCA 12-year deal, whatever, to sign him through what one would expect to be the bulk of his career, and he winds up being, I don't know, gets hurt, doesn't, regresses at some point, who's later really that mad about that contract?
Yep. It doesn't matter if you win.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Yeah. No,
give us somebody we love and give us somebody we know we can buy the jersey because he's going to be here in more than 2 seasons.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Okay. Let's we are the three of us. We're going to go long. This is going to be old school. We're getting 2 hours out of this one. Okay. We're going to put a pin in that one. Let's spend a few minutes. One of you or both of you can tell me about this Athletic article about where all the doubles and triples have gone, because I don't subscribe to the Athletic, so I can't read it myself.
Mike, you were the one that called it out. You should do it.
No, it was actually Jeff. I actually haven't read it, so I will.
I have read
Jeff
it.
Just hung us all out to dry.
Sorry, I'll happily talk. I'll talk it through. I know what it says. The bottom line on this one is Jason Stark wrote an article. Everybody should check it out over at The Athletic. And it basically makes a very compelling case that modern analytics have killed extra base hits. And the short version of this story is it's all about defensive positioning in 2 ways. One is guys have just been playing deeper since 2019. So they're happy to give up a single, but they do not want to give up a double or a triple. So they play deeper so that they can rob those extra base hits. They only give up singles. It impacts run scoring. But the second piece that is just as interesting is that defensive analytics have gotten so precise because of StatCast data that and you'll see this, like if you're ever in the bleachers at Wrigley, you see guys like checking the card, right? Like they have a card in their hat or they have a card in their back pocket and they're like checking the card. That is telling them, hey, you move 3 feet to the left with this guy. You move 5 feet to the right with that guy. This guy's more likely to hit it to the gap. This guy's more likely to hit it down the line. And those are robbing hits too. And so I don't know exactly what the solution to this is. I think it probably looks something like the ban the shift rule that they did on the infield, where you have to start on the dirt. You can't start on the grass. And so probably what it would result in, if you were trying to fix this, is that would force center fielders have to start within a certain range, right? And left fielders and right fielders have to start within a certain range. You can almost imagine like a circle drawn in the grass where they have to start. And then if they can chase down a ball from that spot, go for it. But you cannot pre-position yourself in such a way that you're robbing extra base hits.
Well, I would say, and I think that the whole analytics is like, we all use analytics, all of us. This is just the era that we're in. But here's the thing. I think the big issue is the card. It's having it on the field, in the dugout, all that stuff, because none of this stuff is actually really new. It's just that back in the day, if a player was really good, it's because he knew it in his head. And now you can take a mediocre player and make him look really good on what would have been a double or a triple because he has somebody else's brain in his back pocket, right? He pulls it out, move to the left, move to the right, all this stupid stuff, which, look, if you want to have the manager, like on a little league field, stand out there like, Hap, move. I'm all for that. I will let you do that. I want to see it. But if we take that stuff away, sort of this stuff that they can look at on the field and make the players actually have to remember these things, I think that would actually help a lot, because that's a lot of good information that the best players would have because they'd be able to use their head for it. You know what I mean? And if they don't want to put in that effort, then they're not going to have that advantage.
Yeah, I think so. Cotton, I was going back to our conversation on Discord this afternoon. You're often painted as a guy that hates analytics and whatever, and I know you don't really. It's how they're used. But I was thinking about that this afternoon while I was doing some other things, and baseball has gotten to a point where I'm going to make a little bit simplistic comparison, but it's sort of become blackjack. I mean, they're on the one hand, if you have access to all this data, I work in IT, I do data protection for a living, and companies have information, and why wouldn't you use it to improve yourself? So I understand how the game got to where it is, because if you have data and you can act on it, why wouldn't you? But it's also to a point now where it's just so cut and dry, and we've kind of scaled it down to really simple things. At some point, something else will break and the pendulum will swing, as it always does. But we're at a point now where, like, God, you made the point that, you don't want to make the bad mistake, or you just know what you're supposed to do and you do that. And it's like hitting on, if you're playing blackjack and you've got 18 and the dealer's showing a 7, you could hit, but why would you? You're kind of an idiot if you did. And that's kind of where baseball is right now. It's like, we're going to make the safe play, and you're going to win more of those bets than you're not. But any given time, the dealer might flip a 4 and then pop a 10, and then I got 21. I just lost with my 18. And you say that I'll give you credit for this, Cotton. You say it a lot. Every single play is its own sample size.
Yep.
But you make your decision based on everything you've studied and all the aggregation that goes in ahead of it. So you set yourself up for the percentage play, knowing the percentage play doesn't always happen. And you have to be, when you build yourself that way, when you don't go for the elite athleticism, you don't go for the top players, you have to win all those little bets all the time. And that's the position the Cubs put themselves in. And they do a decent job with it. They don't do a great job with it. And they don't spend the money on the star power to make up the difference.
Right. No, I just, it's just that whole, like, having all the stuff in the dugout that they're looking at and they're doing. I just feel like they keep trying to take the human out of the game as much as possible, right? They're trying to make it into all these programs. Everybody's trying to be perfect. And it's like, well, the way that I'm going to make this player better is by giving him instructions that he can have in his pocket. Or a pitcher is going to have a card that tells him the batter's name and where to throw it and all that stuff. Like, they don't have to remember that stuff anymore, and I feel like if you made them start to do that, some of these things would start to work themselves out, right? Because when you have that much information and the pitcher knows every pitch he needs to throw to you, then it makes it a lot harder to hit. But if that pitcher and the catcher are out there working together, trying to remember what it is they're supposed to be doing, like with each, you got 9 batters in a lineup now that you have to deal with, and they've got to remember all that versus just having it on cards. I think that would introduce just enough of a wild card, just like a little iffiness into it to allow the hitters to get a lot more.
I do think that that getting rid of the cards would change the calculation a bit. I was actually one of my favorite things about the off season and especially the holidays is MLB Network will air like Ken Burns's baseball just for hours and hours at a time. It's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. I was watching the 10th inning the other day and I was watching part of it. I actually had to rewind it and listen to it again to make sure I heard it right because it was so backwards from what modern baseball is. But there was this moment where they were talking about how all of the variables on the field and everything that we know about the game at that moment in time favored the hitters, that it was an offensive game and that the hitters had the upper edge on everything. And I think that we have the pendulum swings in baseball. This is not a sport that stays static, right? Like when pitchers get too much of an edge, they lower the mound. When hitters get too much of an edge, they start to tweak stuff. Like the pendulum goes back and forth. And so yes, analytics made the game. I think the blackjack analogy is a great one, actually, because there's still some randomness involved. Like you can't predict every variable. And if you got a 6 or 7 card deck, like it's hard to count cards, even if you're an extremely good person at math, but you can have some general rules that allow you to exceed the expectations if you weren't following those rules. But I do believe there will be a reaction to this. I don't know if it winds up being like, there's circles on the field where the fielders have to start. I mean, one of the things that I find extremely funny, if you're ever watching where the infielders position themselves, Dansby and Nico are like as close to the grass as you can possibly get without being on the grass. And they also will occasionally be as close to the second base, like as close to second base as you can possibly be without violating the rule. Like they are basically shifting as much as humanly possible. And so I imagine if you put those circles on the field, you would see the same thing, right? Like Ian Happ would be like, I've got my pinky toe in like on the right part of the thing.
And why wouldn't they?
And that's exactly right. Because the name of the game is run prevention. Like that's what they're trying to do. So I think that we're just living in a particular moment where pitching and the analytics that are available to pitchers and defense have exceeded what offense can accommodate. But I don't think that moment is forever. I think that something will break through and change that moment, because that is what has happened every time it looked like, oh my God, the curveball is going to break the game, or oh my God, the Bob Gibson is too good,
Well,
So I want to take this comment from Dominic here. Has analytics now become the new Moneyball? I mean, Moneyball was the start of the analytics era. They found that walks, essentially the movie's got its flaws and all the things, but it's found what, the premise of the book and the movie was that on-base percentage was undervalued. And we continue to do that. Like that's still what everybody's fishing for. And it's gone from something that seems so simplistic now compared to where we are, to where we're looking at pitch shapes and we're looking at the way a batter swing plane is and lining up your pitches to go against, it's just so in-depth and so detailed now that it's still the same game. It's just we're dealing with more complex stuff because we mature over time.
Right.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing off of that, because I heard a really interesting piece of analysis, read an interesting piece of analysis. I think this was a Twitter thread, but there's a player who was talking about how, gosh, I cannot remember the player right now. I feel really bad that I cannot credit the player for this. I want to say it was Vinny Pasquantino, but I might be giving credit to the wrong guy. But it's on Twitter. And he was saying that Pete Rose used to change his approach in the batter's box depending on the pitcher. Like he was constantly moving and he was constantly shifting depending on like, oh, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. Because Pete Rose was always looking for the best way to get a hit. Now, this is not an endorsement of Pete Rose, the human being, because we all know that he had some flaws. But like Pete Rose, the hitter, knew how to get a hit. And he was constantly, like we talk about Anthony Rizzo's 2-strike approach. Pete Rose was that, but like every pitch, every hitter just like trying to scrap out some way to get a hit. And whoever this player was, I'm pretty sure it was Vinny Pasquantino, was like, we should do that more. Like StatCast tells us that our stance is the same and our approach is the same, and we have to get that in that rhythm. And if we don't get in that rhythm, then we're not going to be able to get enough power but maybe we should be adapting. And honestly, I just think hitters are going to learn more. Right now, we're in an era where pitchers and defense have figured out a maximum amount of run prevention, and it might go even farther. So maybe it's not maximum, but they're like maximally preventing runs. And at some point, hitters are going to adapt to that. And I don't know what that adaptation looks like. It might be a rule change. It might be an approach change. It might be, okay, well, we're going to all go to a 2-strike approach, and we're actually going to stop trying to hit the ball over the fence because that's no longer worth it. It's more worth it to do this other thing. The game will adapt. The game will be fine.
Yeah, Sarah, and you were right in the same mindset as I was, because thinking about how the batters are doing these things, and Pete Rose changing how he's doing it. One of the reasons that all of these defensive analytics and pitching analytics are so effective right now is because the hitters all decided to become the same guy. And once they did that, it made it much easier to develop your plan, because even though you have one guy to the next guy to the next guy, and you would think, oh, these are all different hitters, if they all have the same general swing or approach, it makes it way easier. Now you get a guy like Nico Horner, and he's just a hitter. He'll hit 5 home runs a year on accident, but he's just out there ripping hits. That's all he wants to do. He's just trying to get on base or put the ball in play, and it works for him. He's very good at that. A lot of guys could do that, but they don't want to hit 5 home runs a year because at some point they put this like huge this impact on the home run, which of course home runs are a very big deal. But if you just had 9 guys who you could reliably have to work a 1-run inning every inning or 2, you're going to end up winning a ton of games, because you're going to score 6-7 runs a game if you can manufacture that. And then hopefully there's a home run in there somewhere, right? But it just feels like that whole analytics with the swing speeds and the angles and the plane and all this stuff, they just figured out what the best way was to actually hit a home run. But what that did was also allow the defense, well, we know this guy's got one swing and we know it goes right here. So I'm going to stand right here. I'm going to look at my card. It tells me move 3 feet to the left. I'm going to stand there and I'm going to take away the double, the triple, because that guy can't get the double and triple anymore because he's going for the home run every time. And warning track power gets warning track outs, people.
Well, and the game has really incentivized the home run for a variety of reasons. I mean, it's not just that like it scores an automatic run and it scores all the guys on base. Like it's just a safer way to guarantee offense in a world where, and this is part of the Jason Stark article that Jeff was talking to us about earlier. They have this example in there. They show 2 Freddie Freeman doubles, or 2 Freddie Freeman hits that both went 103.1 miles an hour to almost the exact same spot. And in 2016, that hit is a double. And in 2025, that is an out. Now, admittedly, Freddie Freeman's a little bit older, so, you know, he might not have made it all the way to second on that same hit. But it's not like an expert defensive player. It's not like PCA is robbing him of the double, right? It's just that everything has changed in terms of he hits the same ball and it's no longer the same hit.
Right.
Well, I want to go to this another comment by Dominic. I think part of the lack of reaction, and there's not just one solution to any of this. It's a million things that go into this.
Oh, absolutely.
But Dominic talking about the game's changed because starters are only going 4 to 5 innings. Teams are trying to shorten the game. When if you're going to face Aroldis Chapman popping 105, there are only so many things you can do in the batter's box. And so the more you're seeing elite stuff, elite starters, elite velo for smaller periods of time where they can go max effort, and we see max effort, which leads to all the injuries, and so many things go into this. But when pitchers are going max effort and they have the advantage right now, and there's the defensive advantage, it makes it really hard for the hitters to adapt. And I don't know. I don't know how you adapt if you're facing a starter who's throwing 99 for 5 innings. What are you going to do? I mean, you can only have so much approach change.
Well, I do agree with what you're saying there, but they're not even trying. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what they can do because they haven't even tried it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
How would you know if they were trying though?
They would need different approaches, different swings. You know, you would have guys that would go out and be looking for a single because this dude's, you know, throwing 100 and they're just like, you know what, if I can just get a bat to a ball at all and get it out there and I could get a single going the opposite way because they've got me pulled, like they're playing me to pull everything, then you would know that they're trying to do something different. But that's not what you see.
But also when they're playing
you
to
see
pull,
that
they're
they
also
set up the defense the exact same way every single time the guy goes up to bat, and then he hits directly into the defense every single time that he goes. Okay, well, I mean,
no, I'm not saying guys try to change all the time. I'm just saying if you told me guys were changing the approach and we weren't seeing the results, I don't know from watching on TV and looking at StatCast exactly how I would know whether a guy's trying to do something different, but he can't go the opposite way because they're busting him in with 98-mile-an-hour fastballs on the hands. Like, I just don't know that we have any way of knowing who's trying alternate approaches and who's not.
I mean, granted, we can't know everything. I'm just saying, in general, when you're watching these hitters, a lot of them are just kind of doing the same thing, and they're all trying to swing for the fences. I mean, unless the hitter is literally a Nico Horner who doesn't feel that he has that sort of power stroke, he's doing something different. But like 85% of the guys are just swinging for the fences.
Well, yes, but that's because that's what got them to the big leagues. I mean, unless you are a Nico Horner, and there are not that many guys who have a Nico type approach, right? I mean, off the top of my head, you've got like Nico, you've got Luis Ariz, you've got maybe Bryce Terang, although he strikes out a bit more than either of those two guys do. It's like the guys who have the like microscopic strikeout rate and the contact tool with the speed to turn that into hits are extremely rare today. I mean, to bring this back to a Cubs guy, the guy I think about all the time, who I wonder what he would be in the modern game, is Mark Grace. Mm-hmm. Most hits in the 90s, but Mark Grace, the Mark Grace style 90s, hitter, amazing. Most hits in the 90s, and never in a single season did Mark Grace ever strike out more than 10% of the time. Not once. His final year of his career, I think he struck out like 9.1% of the time or something. That type of hitter, the guy who's going to hit 300, 310 with a ton of doubles and limited power, is just extinct in baseball. That guy does not exist. And who wouldn't take that guy? Who wouldn't take a guy that strikes out 7% of the time and hits a ton of doubles?
Well, I think we're going to see that soon. I think we will start to see that approach coming soon. And the thing is, you won't see a ton because really you need like 2 guys in your lineup like that. And if you place them properly, you're going to get a lot out of it.
To bring it back, I mean, obviously he would adjust too, but with the way Mark Grace hit, we were just talking about all the defensive analytics. How many doubles is he getting? Right. He probably cut a lot of those doubles into singles and
they're outs.
And that's
and now he's not a 300 hitter anymore.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And when we talk about hitting the ball hard and swinging for the fences, you can't defensive position your field to stop a home run.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there was a comment about Driveline earlier in the chat, and kudos to whoever said that, because I do think Driveline is trying to like equalize this playing field a little bit.
I mean, I will say, like, we've kind of talked a ton about this. The biggest question I think I will have for the rest of my life is just how much better would Nico have been if he had just gotten those extra 150 at bats at AAA? The guy would be hitting 50 home runs a year.
I don't think he would. I don't think he would.
All right. Well, it's high time for a break here.
We're at 90 minutes. We're like, oh, we're coming back.
Yep.
Danny's going to be like, what did you do to my show?
And I have look, trust me, we were doing this for years where I was just, let's just go. Let's just go. I don't care.
Yeah, I need more wine, so let's do it.
Yeah, but I'm going to throw out a silhouette right here. Now, I am going to give everyone a hint. You got to be thinking 1950s on this. This is a very old baseball card. And if you have an idea of who you think this might be, let us know in the chat. And then when we come back, I will tell you whether or not you were correct. But until then, we're going to take a quick break. Watch these commercials.
The Son Ranto Show has hired me, a professional voiceover actor, to tell you why you should become a Son Ranto Patreon patron at patreon.com/sonranto. First of all, it's only $1 a month. And if you can't afford $1, I don't even know that the Son Ranto Show wants you as a listener, because you're too poor to even hang out with anyway. Also, as a Patreon member, you get the Son Ranto Show ad-free, and the Patreon-only podcast called Cubs Pod, which releases daily during the season with bonus episodes all off-season long. Son Ranto Patreon members are also eligible to win a monthly prize, get exclusive Son Ranto Discord page privileges, and there are more perks at every level. Plus, 10% of your Patreon support goes to help the Lost Boys Youth Baseball Program as we give back to our community. So what are you waiting for? Spend your hard-earned money on tickets and beer for the Son Ranto Show by subscribing at patreon.com/sonranto. Otherwise, they'll think you're a poor loser. A big, fat, dorky, poverty-stricken loser. Take it from me and by commanding professional voice, and become a Son Ranto Patreon supporter right now.
I think we're back. And I think we might need another commercial because nobody is back but me. Hey, y'all. I'm just going to hang out here for a second with this baseball player guy on top of the screen. I think we're back.
My bad.
It only played the one commercial, not the two.
Oh, crap.
This is what happens when Danny's not around.
Well, none of these,
Danny, we miss you. If you're watching, Danny, we love you and miss you.
Yes, Danny, we do. You would be better at this. I don't know which commercials are the double, all this stuff. Like
it's supposed to be the In the Clutch commercial, but I don't know how you.
This was the longest one they had, and I had to go to the bathroom. So hold on, let me look at these comments real quick. We have.
I had to make a drink.
Eddie Miskus was a guess, and then Dominic Galora says Ernie Banks. Dominic, you are not correct, but Ernie does play into this this story here a little bit. It is Gene Baker. You guys know who Gene Baker is?
I do not, but I want to hear more.
So Gene Baker was actually he was picked up by the Cubs right before they picked up Ernie Banks. Hold on, I'm bringing up. I had all this stuff pulled up and then I lost it.
No, it's all good. I mean, I think we all thought we had an In the Clutch commercial coming. I only sat down because I was like, I don't need to do anything else. I'll just sit here and listen. I like the In the Clutch song. So I like to, I usually just sit here and listen to it.
Yeah.
So inside baseball for y'all.
So Gene Baker, giving him a little props. He's a hometown guy. He's from Davenport, Iowa, which I grew up right around Davenport. So I've known about him since I was like a kid. But the Cubs picked him up actually right before they picked up Ernie Banks. He was a shortstop. They moved Gene Baker over to second base because he was a little bit older than Ernie Banks, and they thought that Baker would be able to handle like switching a position easier than Ernie would. But they were up the middle for the Cubs there for a number of years. But then after he quit playing, Gene Baker, actually, where is he? Yes, he was the first, 1961, he became the first African-American manager in organized baseball. He was the manager for the Batavia Pirates farm club in the New York Penn League. So it wasn't like a great position, but he was technically the first African-American manager. And he did play for the Kansas City Monarchs prior to going to the Cubs. And then he finished his career with the Pirates. But that's Gene Baker. Like I said, he's from my hometown. So just kind of wanted to give a little props out for the guy.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Okay, so next topic here, we got Sarah is going to tell us all about this wonderful idea that Rob Manfred has. What's Rob Manfred doing to make baseball better for all of us?
This is definitely not a wonderful idea, and it is definitely not going to make baseball better for all of us. But Evan Drellick over at The Athletic had a really great piece yesterday or the day before looking at a 90-person fan council that Major League Baseball has put together. This is a must read, but if you don't have an Athletic subscription, you can check out my piece recapping parts of this and putting some other pieces together over at Bleed Cubby Blue that came out today. This is a baseball, just in case you have not been following along for the 2027 CBA, for the CBA that they will negotiate after this season and next year's off season, has been doing a bit of a full court press, going into locker rooms and clubhouses, talking to the players, telling them all the reasons they should support a salary cap. You may have seen a story this summer about how Rob Manfred and Bryce Harper literally like almost came to blows because Bryce Harper got in Rob Manfred's face and was like, get the F out of our clubhouse with that, and after the season, it actually leaked that in addition to Bryce Harper getting in Rob Manfred's face, an Major League Baseball representative made a comment to Bryce Harper in front of other Phillies players. And I'm not going to get this exactly right, but the subtext of the comment was, hey, you don't talk to him like that. That's how people end up in a ditch somewhere. We found out later that comment was a joke from Mark DeRosa, and the MLB just kind of like wrote it off as like, oh, it's Mark DeRosa. He thought he was friends with the guys, and he was just like telling a joke. But like, honestly, somebody who has a job through MLB in the clubhouse telling players, when you can't tell the commissioner to not come into your clubhouse and advocate against the union, directly against the union. Like, if you have read about the history of the CBA, you know that the line in the sand for the players union for years has been a salary cap. So the fact that Manfred is like going around into their clubhouse just trying to get players on board for a salary cap 2 years before the CBA is sort of wild. Okay, that's the background. They basically went out, they found fan accounts on social media that had large followings. Some of these are like 4,000 followers. Some of them are like 10,000 followers. They invited 90 of these people to a special MLB fan council, and they've been sharing information with them monthly throughout the season. One of these talks was about like torpedo bats. I don't know what some of the other ones have been about, but recently they did one about the salaries and discrepancies in Major League Baseball. And the way they framed this was, they were like, imagine the Dallas Cowboys and how they would operate like the Dodgers, but the NFL has a salary cap. So, that's why the Dallas Cowboys don't get to do that. And they sort of let these fans draw their own conclusions. And we found out about this because one of the fans who was asked to be in the influencer group, is a guy named Rational Yankees Fan, and he went on the Foul Territory podcast. You can watch it. There's actually one of the very astute readers at BCB put a link to this in the piece that I posted earlier today. So if you want to find it, just go to that piece, look at the comments, you'll find it immediately. But you can hear his interview about what this was like. And he describes it as, Major League Baseball presenting their side of the argument, not presenting the player's side of the argument. And I don't know, man, if you're trying to recruit people on social media who have thousands of people in their followers, this sounds like an AstroTurf campaign to me. And it sounds like an AstroTurf campaign to one of the guys I follow on Blue Sky, a really good poster named Will Harris as well. If you're on Blue Sky, you should follow him. But this is Major League Baseball trying to make sure that they set up as much offense for them to go in for a salary cap as possible. And I hope the Players Association is paying attention and doing some offense of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Ownership has been doing this forever, honestly. Ever since the beginning of the CBA and all these things, ownership always uses the media. They've always used traditional media prior to this, but now it's like they've gotten, another weapon is to get out there and get these influencers. But it's always been their ability to use the media outlet because they're the ownership. They have all the access to, put their information out there. And there's only at most 30 guys that they have to worry about talking. And in baseball, you have 1,200 guys. Like, you could get different people to have different things and use that against them. So this makes all the sense in the world that he would be trying to do this, because they are trying to push this salary cap, and they have been trying to push a damn salary cap forever. And to the point that we always hear fans talk about how much we've done it in this show 8 billion times, how much these players are making and whether or not they're worth it, blah, 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 this and that, as if these owners aren't making all the money and the players are making a fraction of it.
I want to pause on that for 1 second, Mike, and then I will pass it to you. But okay. I wrote a piece about this a couple of years during the last CBA negotiation. So in 2021, that I would highly recommend to people. I promise I will update it probably next offseason as we're in the fight, but I think it's really important. This is not a battle of billionaires versus millionaires. There are actually only a fraction of millionaires in Major League Baseball. The vast majority of baseball players are thousandaires. They are coming back and forth on the 40-man. They might play most of their season in AAA, and then they get called up and they make the league minimum, but it's a prorated league minimum. They don't last more than a season or two before they go to Korea or Japan and try to finish their career there. And they spent all of their time in the minor leagues making, honestly, less than minimum wage, because that is allowed in the minor league system for a variety of reasons. It's called the Save America's Pastime Act, where the owners cried poor. So I really think that, yes, it is true that MLB always tries to frame this as these millionaire players just can't handle, they just want more money. The players are so greedy. And that is because the most prominent contracts in the sport belong to the Shohei Ohtanis of the world, and they belong to the Juan Sotos of the world. But there are very few players who make that type of money that Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani make. There are even fewer. There are not that many players who make the money Nico Horner makes. Like, Nico's a millionaire, but think about all of the Frank Schwindels who come through, or the Patrick Wisdoms who come through, that spent 10 years in the minors. A few years ago, there was a feel-good story when Randy Dobnik was pitching in the postseason, because they're like, oh, this man's an Uber driver in the offseason. Yes, he is, because he doesn't make anything as a minor league reliever, and he just happened to get called up at the right time and was effective at the postseason. Where's Randy Dobnik now? He's not playing in Major League Baseball. He's driving an Uber somewhere.
Yeah. I was going to say that the one thing that would be, I'm totally with you guys on the arguments, but just to play devil's advocate for a second, in order to do a salary cap, they would have to open their books. because the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, all these other sports that have salary caps, it's all tied to revenue. The players negotiate for a percentage of the revenue. Nobody knows how much fucking money these people make now. I mean, Tom Ricketts claiming that they break even every year, and I was listening to Cap's podcast, and he or Gordon were saying that the Yankees didn't make money last year. I'm like, these are all bookkeeping choices. It's not because they don't have any money, but people are going to have to put their bookkeeping choices down on paper, and that's going to feed the whole process.
Notice,
hey, Mike, can you expand on what you mean by bookkeeping choices? Because you're right about that, but I don't think people realize what you're talking about there.
I think there's obvious stuff, right? I have season tickets. When I pay for my season tickets, that money goes to baseball operations because I'm buying a ticket to the game. It's a seat at the game. There are revenues from concessions, from tickets, from parking, from advertisements you see all around the stadium. There's advertising on Marquee. Marquee is its own channel. They've got all the events that they do at Wrigley Field, and they do it outside Wrigley Field, where they've got the Winter Wonderland and the hockey games, and Northwestern's playing college football games there, and there are concerts. There's all the real estate that Ricketts own all around in Wrigleyville. There's the Gallagher, or the hotel across Gallagher Way.
Hotel Zachary.
Hotel Zachary. And they own a lot of the restaurants and the bars. And so there is almost limitless revenue coming into what you would consider to be the Cubs as an entire enterprise. But there is Marquee is a piece, and the Cubs are a piece, and the real estate is a piece. And the Cubs, if they wanted to, could declare all of this exists because of the Cubs. So therefore, Cubs revenue, we're going to go spend like the Dodgers. But they make their choices where the real estate part is its own holding company, and Marquee is its own thing. And when they put those new suites in the outfield, things like that, they're trying to generate more. In theory, that would be baseball revenue, because I think it's inside the park during the game. I think it'd be pretty hard to even pretend that that's not baseball revenue. But there's a lot of stuff that is really, what book do we want to throw this on? And that's how Tom comes up with breaking even. It's not because, well, either that or Crane Kenny absolutely sucks at his job, because if they're truly just breaking even, then they need to fire them all. But you know that's not the case. The Cubs are making shit tons of money. The question is, it's a choice on how they break it up. And every team does that to some extent. Some have access to more things than others. The Reds probably have to fold more of that stuff into baseball just so they can compete in the division. But it'll be interesting to see it. If the owners are going to push hard for a salary cap model, then teams are going to pool their revenue, and it's going to come to the league. And the salary cap is going to be a percentage of overall baseball revenues. And teams are going to be forced to spend a certain amount of money. They're going to be capped at a certain amount of money. But the players, the theory goes, well, it'll never work out for the players. So I'm just going to set that out up front. But in theory, they could negotiate for a bigger piece of a pie that they don't currently have access to. But it'll be really interesting to see what owners put down on paper as their books.
Well, and you're absolutely right. They're just doing a bunch of work on the books to make these things act as if they aren't connected. But here's the other thing. I have noticed over the last 5 years, I had never heard an owner say they were losing money. But I heard it from the Cardinals. We've heard it from the Yankees now. We've heard it from the Reds, I think
the Red Sox have said it too.
Yeah, the Red Sox were breaking even, right? Now, these are things that we've just now started hearing.
Yep.
And it seems weird to us. Why are we just hearing that? Because they have been working for the last 5 years to set up their books properly, so that once they get this, they try and push this through, and they do have to open their books, it's going to show that they're breaking even or they're losing money, so they don't have to give that money away.
So what we do get to see is the Braves are owned by a publicly traded company, so their books are open.
I
to at least
thought
to
it
some
was because
extent.
it was a publicly financed stadium. The
Maybe
Braves,
that's it. But there's some reason why they're booked.
the Braves have a publicly financed stadium, and until that bond is paid off, we can see the Braves books. So there are a handful of teams like where if they have taken public financing for things, they have to open their books. Sorry,
It's like in the NFL, you can always see the Green Bay Packers books because
Correct.
they're publicly owned.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
same
aside,
same outcome, different mechanism, but
yes. But it's to the point where no matter what they claim, every time a team sells, it sells for many multiples of what the owner bought the team for.
That's right.
So if it's the world's shittiest investment because I'm losing so much money every single year, the next owner is not going to come in and pay me quadruple what I paid before.
Along those lines, and this was a gift from the Freedom of Information Act that y'all should take a look at before you pick a side on the whole players versus owners thing.
Hold on. Nope. You don't need to look at anything to pick a side. It's players, people. It's
fair.
players.
but allow me to let y'all in on one of my favorite news dumps of all time. A handful of years ago, I want to say it was 2019-ish, because I think it was pre-pandemic, but it might have been post. I'm pretty sure it was pre-pandemic. Just Google the Splinter News FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, Splinter News, Ricketts, and you will find the Freedom of Information Act request that Splinter News put in for the Ricketts on their when they bought the Cubs. And there's a bunch of excellent things in there, including a bunch of really weird emails from Papa Joe Ricketts that frankly made
those are the things that made the big headlines. We talked about those on Sunday.
The thing that is really interesting in there, that was probably the single thing I spent the most time on, you can see the PowerPoint presentation from the Cubs when they were trying to get the ownership group together to buy the team. And they make the argument that no baseball team has ever lost money on any, you own the team, then you sell the team, then you own the team, then you sell the team, to Waller's point. But it's sitting right there in a PowerPoint deck, and a very well done PowerPoint deck done by people who, trade in billions of dollars, not millions of dollars. So take it from them. The owners are not losing money. And all of this, we're barely breaking even, is exactly the accounting trick that Mike was talking about. It is, the Cubs have split off the rooftops and their, the hotel and all. That's the 1060 Hickory group. And then they have the Cubs group, and then they have the baseball operations group, and then they have Marquee. And because you have all of these different holdings, you can put losses in different places as long as it's plausible in a way that would make things look different if necessary. So these books are a lot more complicated than you think they are. The big thing here that is new to my mind is I really think MLB is trying to gear up for the fight this time in a way that is fundamentally different than what they did in 2021 and fundamentally different than what they did 10 years ago. They are they're trying to get fans on their side. They're trying to get managers on their side. We saw yesterday that Dave Roberts came out that he's in favor of a salary cap. What the hell, man? You are the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and a former player. What are you doing?
That's been my conspiracy theory for a while, is that the Dodgers and the Mets are running up these prices just so they can use that as the thing that they say, see, it's out of control, when everybody's in on it. All 30 teams want them to do that because it's going to allow them to point to that during this thing.
David Elliott says, he doesn't care if a millionaire is losing money. They're so detached from reality, they don't know what it means. And there's a really good point there, because if you recall during the pandemic, Tom Ricketts was out there saying, oh, the Cubs are suffering biblical losses, man, biblical losses. Danny Rocket went as biblical losses one year for Halloween. It was an epic costume. But the way they think of losses we projected that we were going to have $400 million of revenue, and we only got $100 million of revenue. So we lost $300 million. That is not the way normal people think of losses. The way I think of losses is I get X amount of money for my paycheck, and my paycheck comes in at half that. So I lost half of my paycheck. Like most of us live in the now. We live in the paycheck to paycheck realm, not in the I projected that I was going to make, X amount of $1,000 versus Y amount of $1,000. The last thing I'll say about this, and I'm just curious what people are thinking about it. I made the strategic decision to Evan, excellent piece in The Athletic. You really should subscribe to The Athletic if you can, because he's great. And lots of people there are great. But Evan does the Lord's work on the collective bargaining side of things and on all things like MLB Players Union. They include a bunch of tweets from people who are on this fan council. And so I've just made it my prerogative to follow all of those people, because I've decided that those people are going to be out there. Like, we're going to know what MLB's message is, because those people are going to be out there spreading the gospel of MLB. If you listen to the podcast that Foul Territory did with Rational Yankees Fan, who is the guy who kind of broke this whole thing, Rational Yankees Fan notes that he was like the only guy from the Yankees fan base in the room, and that there were just not all that many representatives from big teams. That this was really a room that was like packed with like the smaller teams. So it's like they have packed a room of people trying to get like all the Royals fans and Pirates fans angry at the Dodgers. And it's just kind of, and like, that is so transparently obvious what they are trying to do. I really hope the Major League Baseball Players Association is already figuring out some similar strategy to fight back.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I was going to add is you brought up the 2020 biblical losses. I wonder how much that really accelerated all this, because obviously that was a year where everybody everywhere lost a lot of everything for obvious reasons. But it gave owners a chance to stand up there in a way with more backing than they really ever had before, to really start talking like this. And I think it really stuck since then. I think without the pandemic, I don't know that we're exactly here today. Sure, the owners would still want it, but I don't know that they would have galvanized all these talking points the way they have.
Yeah, I think it gave them a lot of time to sit there together in rooms or on Zoom or whatever and have conversations, because if you remember, they were not competing on the field. So they were all getting together and having these conversations about how to move forward in different ways. Winter meetings come up this week. It used to be.
Can I make one more point before we
only do that a little bit, but then they had the whole 2020 season to play along with it. What were you going to say?
I have one last point too, but yeah, you go first, Mike.
I was going to say that I think the shame of it is, we've talked today about changing the game, the defensive metrics, the lack of offense, maybe hitters aren't adjusting. We're talking about the owners and the salary cap. This last postseason, I'll set aside 2016. That'll be my favorite forever for obvious reasons, and I think it was magic anyway. This is a tremendous offseason. And the last few years, I have really, really loved the game in a way that I haven't in a while. So even though there are flaws, things to fix, game's fucking great. So why are we wrecking it?
No, I mean, that's a great point. And I might, you know what? I'm not even going to say my point. Just let it stand on that. The game is good. Baseball is great. Actually, I will say the last thing I want to say, which is, sorry, but that was a great point. I don't disagree with anything Mike just said. Players are workers at the end of the day. They are laborers just like us. Most of them do not come from billions of dollars and they're just like spending their day perfecting their craft of baseball. They worked from the streets of the Dominican Republic and from the streets of Venezuela and from the streets of Mexico and in little leagues across this country to become who they are right now. And if you work for a living, they work for a living too. And like, you have nothing in common. Most of us have nothing in common with the billionaire trust fund babies who are earning their keep through interest in the stock market. But you do have something in common with the Anthony Rizzos of the world. You do have something in common with the Juan Sotos of the world. And you do have something in common with the Randy Dobniks of the world. And I really hope fans keep that solidarity with the players, because we are closer to the players than we are to the owners. And the game does not exist without Juan Soto. The game can exist without Tom Ricketts.
Oh, I wish the game would exist without Tom Ricketts. But okay, well, you both kind of hit on it. We're moving to our last thing. Danny put out a Cubs pod yesterday for the Patreon. If you're not part of the Patreon, you don't know what he said, all of it. But we're going to talk a little bit about it because the point of it was his Cubs happiness and how the Cubs make him feel. It used to be that the Cubs always made him happy, and now he has different feelings about that because of the way that the team is run and the way that the team has been constructed and the players on it and all that stuff. And so I just thought, I thought he made some good points. There were some interesting things to think about, but I thought I'd ask you guys, where's your Cubs happiness right now? What are the, you listened to Danny, and now you have an opportunity to sort of just say where you're at with your Cubs happiness. And I do have some different questions if you want me to ask you some specific points, but I'll let you go. What do you think with the Cubs happiness?
Mike, you have to take this one first.
Yeah, my Cubs happiness is, this last season was really weird for me. So had a lot of personal stuff going on too, but for the podcast and watching it on that level and still having frustrations about not extending Kyle Tucker and not doing more in the off season. I had a lot of fun watching that team, and they were actually pretty good. And it wasn't always an easy team to like, but in the end, I came around and there were a lot of good stories on the team. One thing when we talk about the Cubs trying to thread the needle and find the cheap deals or whatever, if the team's good, it means you wind up with really cool stories like Drew Pomerantz and Brad Keller. And you talk about, to your last point, Sarah, about guys who work and grind. I mean, Drew Pomerantz hadn't pitched in a game since 2021.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that by sitting on your butt and doing nothing and being entitled to anything. He had to work and grind and all that. And we got to see Michael Busch take another step, and PCA was electric. And there's a lot to like. And this year I really kind of struggled to find the balance between the stuff I like and the stuff I didn't. And I think that's kind of what, Danny was kind of talking about that in his way, but
real quick, at Camiata 2 says Seiya, Nico, PCA, and Shota are still on the north side. That's my Cubs happiness. That's pretty good.
Aw, that is good. I think I have someone at the door, so I'm going to answer this question in 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Okay, I'll go.
Could I add one more piece?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, unlike, even though I have season tickets, I'm not in Chicago that often. It's still magic to walk in that stadium and walk up those steps and see the ivy. It just shivers every single time I do it. It doesn't matter how many times I go.
And Danny talked about that too. The idea that maybe the Cubs themselves weren't bringing him happiness, but going to Wrigley brings him happiness. Being around the people, the ranters, the bleacher bums, just honestly, just random people at Wrigley. I really like when I go to Wrigley, the people working in concessions and stuff there, they don't actually work for the Ricketts. They work for whoever it is, Aramark or whatever, whatever company but they like being there and they're part of that whole thing. And I will say that's my Cubs happiness is when I go there and I actually, the vendors enjoy being there, and they're kind of, despite what could be a horrific job and probably is a lot of times, you feel a lot of they enjoy just being in that ballpark. That ballpark is wonderful. And then being part of the ranchers, the community for me is great. But I will say things have changed. When I got going on this in 2014, 15, whatever that, I guess 15 was when I first got into Sun Ranto. We had the greatest team that was becoming assembled at that moment. They were all coming together. We had guys that were coming on, and for the most part, these guys at that moment seemed like really good guys. They seemed like fun guys. They had personality. Things were going well. Now, of course, you move on in the world and these guys get older and we have social media and you may learn things about people that you didn't know before, and that could be an issue. But at the time, it was all just heart-shaped glasses, man. It was rose-tinted. Like, everybody was great. They were friends with each other. It seemed like they went out there, they played every day, and they always had a chance. And even when they didn't have a chance, they looked like they were having fun on the field. That, back then, that was my joy. It was watching players on the field who seemed as if they enjoyed what they did. That's what I've always loved about the Cubs. And throughout my life, the Cubs have been bad most of the time. But they've had players like an Andre Dawson who just loved what he did to the point that he just wanted to play at Wrigley. The whole blank check situation, and he was the best player in the league. And these guys who have just embodied sort of, I'm not going to say Cubs baseball, I'm going to just say baseball. Like, they embodied what we want baseball to be. They're enjoying what they're doing out there, and they have personalities and stuff. And that's been the thing that's carried us through all those losing seasons. And now we have a team that actually has a winning season. It's the opposite, right? We had losing seasons with fun players, and now we've got winning seasons with boring players. And it's really hard to reconcile that in your brain, like how you feel about it, because there's a nostalgia and, with these old teams. But really the best of both worlds was the 2016 era, because it was a damn good team and it was players who really liked doing it. And it was a manager that had fun, and all of it was just all about being fun. I loved it. And now we have a manager and players who honestly are like cardboard cutouts of humans, and they're no fun at all. And so it's great to watch winning baseball, and I always want that, and it is fun, and they did some really good things this year. But man, if nothing really, it's really hard to find that like great thing that happened this year, or that Mike, you talked about there were a few good stories or whatever, but and there were, for sure. There always is. They're digging those up. They're making those stories. But it's just, there's just a little something missing with that, with me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna flag Dominic Galoro's comment here, because I think this is great. My Cubs' happiness right now is at a crossroads as well. The game is what makes me happy, and we're planning on taking our grandson to his first game this summer. Can't wait to see his face. He's 4.
Nice.
So I'm going to try really hard not to cry while I talk about this, because I think I was about 4 years old when I fell in love with the Cubs. And it was the Sandberg game. And this last summer was really hard. Losing Rhino sucked, man. Like, it sucked so much. But there's a quote from his Hall of Fame acceptance speech that I think about all of the time, that I have ordered my life around, that I use. A lot of you know I coached nationally competitive debate teams for a long time, and now I work for a nonprofit that makes sure there's debate in high schools where it wouldn't otherwise exist. And when I coached those teams, this was the mantra that I built those teams around. And I got it from my favorite player, who I was introduced to when I was 4. And it is, the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back. I love the Cubs. I love this team. I love the history. I love the ballpark. There's nothing better than Wrigley Field. Sorry, Fenway, you're second and it's close, but it's not the same. I love this neighborhood. I love the Ball Hawks. I love Murphy's. I love Nisei. I love walking around and seeing the ivy turn colors all year long. I love seeing the things that happen in and around the park because it is a hub in the city of Chicago that is great. I love that I see the players and the people who work at Marquee and the people who work in the front office just walking around just like I am in the neighborhood that we all live in and work in and call home. And nothing will ever take that away from me. Like the Ricketts won't take that away from me. The Tribune Company didn't take that away from me. Whoever owns the Cubs next or who owned the Cubs last will never take that away from me. But this team, as currently constructed, has very few. It is very much a team that I would not construct. It is not a team like I know the team. Like y'all know who I love and the types of players that I
Right.
There's a reason that Javier Baez and Wilson Contreras are back there, and all of the other 2016 players are on my other shelf over there. And I did that on purpose. Christopher Morel will be up there someday too. I am. It is just one of those. It's a gut feel. It's a thing. And it's not always the best thing. Like Christopher Morel didn't work out, but I still love him anyway. His walk-off against the White Sox was probably the last moment that the joy that I felt. It actually surpassed the joy I felt in the bleachers this year during the playoff run. And I was at every Cubs win in the bleachers this year, like every single one. It was incredible. The only loss I was at was the one in Milwaukee, and I will never go to that park to watch the Cubs again because that place is cursed. But
that park sucks too.
For all of my complaints about this team, there are things I love and things that are really exciting and hopeful. Daniel Palencia throws gas and comes out to Gasolina. Wrigley Field is dancing to Daddy Yankee in the summer because Daniel Palencia rocks. Moises Ballesteros is an unbelievable hitter. You do not come up and do what he did at 21 and look as comfortable as he did at 21 if you are not an unbelievable hitter. And we are going to get to watch him hopefully for a really long time at Wrigley Field. Shota defied this stupid administration running the Cubs and took the qualifying offer. And we get another year of Showtime, people. And that is going to be great. And whatever happens with the CBA will outlast what the Cubs and Wrigley Field and all of it will outlast whatever terrible damage the people who are in charge right now are doing and the mistakes that they make, because the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back. And I will die on that hill.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I think when I was listening to you, it sort of dawned on me, it's not the team. It's the ownership. It's the front office. Those are the things that are sort of sapping the joy. If
But
if we didn't have to deal with them, or we could see that they were doing things in a way that made sense, our joy wouldn't ever be sapped. We would just be able to just enjoy all of it. That's the only thing that really, sort of bugs me a little bit. What were you going to say, Mike?
I was saying one thing I was thinking about with between the being around Wrigley and we've outlasted many owners already and all that, but like I was thinking back to just some of the little things and around the stadium, and how many places would the Mom Shrine still be up?
Oh, nowhere. The Mom Shrine would not be up outside of Fenway. And I
didn't think it was going to clear the next homestand.
Dude, I didn't think it was going to clear the winter. I told Danny, there was a time last winter, this is no joke, there was a time last winter where there was this rotting pumpkin because the pumpkin had rotted over like Thanksgiving and November, and like it was still there in December. And I was like, Danny, you got to get rid of the pumpkin because the pumpkin is getting like the Mom Shrine is going to get shut down because of the pumpkin. He's like, I don't even think I can pick it up. I think it'll just disintegrate. And so I don't know how he got rid of the pumpkin, but he did. But no, the Mom Shrine is an excellent, God, that's a great pool. That's an excellent example of why this place is so much better. The burning of the ball, man. If you have never been at the burning of the ball, make it a priority in your life just once. Be it the last night game at Wrigley Field in a season and come hang out with us at Ball Hot Corner. It's gotten bigger every year since I've been there. It's like an event now, man. People show up.
The last home game, the
Potluck.
The potluck,
Yes, the potluck
out in the bleachers is amazing. I don't know that that's happening anywhere else.
No, I mean, not to my knowledge. I don't know if that's a,
Well-
the chalk writing on the wall was one of the first stories. It was the first official story that I wrote for Bleed Cubby Blue.
That
And
chalk
I
writing was crazy. Yeah, I love it.
No other ballpark or fan base could have had or done that. It didn't happen when the Red Sox won the World Series. It happened when the Cubs won the World Series. And we have a special thing here. And what we have is we will outlast the consultant ball bros.
Yep.
I got a whole thing on consultant ball that I'm going to write up this offseason and next.
Let me bring in David Elliott here. He says, sometimes I think I like being a rancher more than I like the Cubs. I love the Cubs, but this community and the greater Cubs fandom, unmatched. Cubs come and go. Ranchers will stay. And and outside of just being at the Ranchers, that is the truth of this team, right? The ownership will come and go. We have been through many of them. They've lasted a long time, but we are still here. We have made it through all of it. We've made it through all the bad times, and we did it by coming together as fans, friends, watching this team, doing the little things that we do to make the traditions. The traditions don't come from the Cubs. The traditions come from the fans. The traditions come from bringing people along and letting them know about it, right? And a lot of these traditions, Sarah, you were saying, have grown in the last few years. Well, that is because back in the day, there was no way to let people know about it. If you know, you know. That's all you do.
Yeah, you had to be there.
You had to be there. And now people are starting to find out that these things are real because of podcasts, because of social media, because of these different things. And they're like, I do want to go be a part of that, and it's been amazing. And we will all be here well beyond this team or so yeah, it is about the community.
Dominic Galoro again from the top rope. The Ranters have made a better fan of baseball than the Cubs. The Oregon during 2020, I have a story about this. So it was a particularly bad day. The pandemic sucked, man. I don't know. I live alone and I don't normally mind it because I have all my friends at Wrigley and I have all my friends and, I just like do whatever. And then I come home and it's fine. But it was really rough being alone for like months and months and months on end. And I had a bad day at work and I was walking. It had been raining all day. I was walking just as like, I'm going to get my steps at least. I'm going to take a walk. And I came up Waveland. And right about where the L is, I heard the Lowry. Like I heard the organ playing music. And I was like, what the hell? It's like, why? I was like, that's the sound of baseball. And I walked closer to the park. The Cubs had not announced it. If you remember, Gary Pressey retired in 2019. And so they were hiring a new organist for the 2020 season. It was May, and the season was delayed because of the pandemic. And I just heard, I found out later it was John Benedict. He was practicing. They let John Benedict and Josh Lingoff. And if I recall correctly, there was a third person who was in that rotation originally, but now it's just John and Josh. They would play every Friday. And that was the first Friday that they played. They did not announce it because they didn't want people to like come and crowd around the ballpark. But the organ announced itself. And so that first day, there were just a handful of us who live in the neighborhood who heard it, and I remember I was standing by Ball Hot Corner. Michael Bowling came by and we couldn't hug each other, but it was like, I know you. Thank you. Like, I see you. But over time that summer, every Friday, people would get their lawn chairs. They'd have their masks, whatever. People would just walk laps around the park listening to the organ, and they always ended with what a beautiful world, with that song, like, or what a wonderful world. And that sound it touched my soul, man. Like, it hit so deep. It hit like the best moments of church are supposed to hit. And these are my people, and this is my place. You will pry it from my cold, dead hands, even if I don't like the people who run and own this team.
Yeah. Well, I'm really honestly excited for Danny to listen to this tomorrow, because he's going to hear some great thoughts from, those of us in the chat, the hosts on this show. And
I'm going to hit one last thing if I can, Michael.
Yep, go ahead.
So Lil Yumper put a comment out here. I agree with everything you said, Sarah. Won't give them my money going to the ballpark. I totally get that mindset. I have crazy respect for it. I've thought about that at times in some other sports as well as the Cubs. And I think the sentiment that I fall back to is that we're going to outlast them. It's really more my team than it is theirs, in a sense. And I only have so many years on this planet to be able to go to Wrigley Field and walk in. And I'm not going to deprive myself of that. It means I'm going to give them some money, and I'm just going to live with it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel too. And again, Lil Yumper, I agree. I
respect for the people who take the other approach.
Man, mad respect. I am too much. I am too codependent on the Cubs to take that stance, because I'll be I'm going to be real transparent and honest for 1 second. Like, I've dealt with depression and anxiety my whole life, and it's obvious it's been well under control for most of my adult life. But one of the ways that it is under control is baseball and the Cubs. I take the summer gives me this massive break from my brain worrying about everything in the universe, to where I just focus on baseball. I focus on the Cubs. I get these 3-hour breaks. I get to sit in this beautiful space and be with my friends and worry more about whether Nico Horner is going to catch a pop fly than everything else that is going on in the world. And I need that. I personally need that. It is my church. It is my holiest space. It's a cathedral on this planet for me. And I have not been able to make that decision, but I respect those who do.
Yeah. The funny thing about Yumper too is that he was a Cubs fan, and then he has a lot of friends who are on the South Side, White Sox, so he just made the switch. He's a White Sox fan, but he couldn't quit the Ranters.
Hey, listen,
he's stuck around with us for quite a while. It's kind of funny. He's our resident Sox fan now, I guess.
Hey, if Pope Leo is ever throwing out a pitch at White Sox Park, I am there, man. Pope Leo has been one of the best things in my estimation, and the fact that he's a baseball fan just makes it even better.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about all these great things, the traditions, the people coming together. So obviously, first off, I found the pictures. I told you I was going to find it. This is us when we were getting Sun Ranto and the Ranchers were getting the most valuable partner award with the Lost Boys earlier. We've got Bill Sugas over here, Bleacher Jeff in the back, Crawley, Danny, me, Bernie Barron, and Joe, like all of us up on the stage. That was like the coolest thing, because it was like, yeah, Danny could have just gone up there and we'd have just sat there and watched and whatever. But, he was like, nah, come on up. And so we all went up there and got the award together. It was wonderful. And then, this is kind of us. The other two people, we got Guy Sirius over here in the red shirt. He was sitting there at the table. He didn't come up with us. And my wife, Emily, there with me sitting at the table. And then Joe, Danny, Crawley, and Bill, all of us. It was a great day. And that's the community that has built up around this. And it's been wonderful to be able to share that with everybody. And coming up 12/20, yet another wonderful thing that we do in this community is Cubs caroling. So I'm going to pop this link in here. But yeah, if you haven't done it, go do it. It's a lot of fun. You walk around Wrigleyville, you go into the bars, and you sing Christmas songs with Cubs words or baseball words or whatever. And it's a good time. Unfortunately, I can't be there this year. I have a few other things happening. It's literally Christmas is 5 days after this. So sometimes you can make it, sometimes you can't. I remember I missed so many because my kids always had band concerts, but I've made the last couple. It's been a lot of fun. I will do my best to be there next year, but it is a good time, and you get to go and actually see the ranchers, hang out with them in real life. That's a great time. Anytime you get to do that. So, Sarah,
I got you.
Are you gonna give this a shot?
I think I can.
So, like in the 10 minutes before the show, I wrote a little bit of a Cubsmas carol about winter meetings to Silver Bells. As you all know, I'm a terrible singer. I really just can't even. I get to the second line and I get lost. So Sarah is going to give it a shot here, and then we're going to get out of here. So.
Okay, I think I got it. This is not a song I sing very often, so if I mess up the key or something, y'all have to just, go easy on me. Okay, here we go. This is good, though. This is a really good Cubs carol, and this is a good example of what we do at Cubs caroling. And Cubs caroling is the best. I am the most introverted person, and I love Cubs caroling. I am not able to be there this year because I'll already be in Utah with my family. But every year that it is early enough that I can be there, I am there, and I will never miss it. Here we go. Owner's Gold, Owner's Gold, winter meeting in Orlando. Jingling, money sings, soon it is winter meetings. Winter meetings, agents greetings, smiling fake ass smiles. There's no feeling of baseball. Owners cheating, drinking, eating, claiming it's their last time. And in Orlando you hear Owner's Gold. Okay, that's it.
Owner's Gold. Yes. That was very good. Thank you so much for doing that, because I can tell you right now, I tried it like 2 or 3 times.
I think I was off key, honestly. Silver Bells is not my jam.
You have no idea how off. I can't hold a key. I can't hold a tune. If it was a motorcycle, I'd have died.
I will say my favorite song from last year was Danny remade Feliz Navidad to Javier Assad.
Yeah.
And that was also great. Like, if you have not heard Danny's Javier Assad, I mean, you gotta get into it.
It's a lot of fun. I am currently, after my Hawaiian vacation, I am working on Mele Kalikimaka. It's tough. But I'm going to get through it. I'm going to have a Cubs. So if anybody out there doesn't know, anybody can and should write a song just like what you heard Sarah do, just to the tune of your song, put in Cubs stuff, talk trash, make it funny, record yourself. We are going to have a show. It will be on I believe the 18th. Is the show. So we've got a couple of weeks here for you to get it in, and we will play them.
I will join that show. Yeah, I'll join the show.
We will have your songs. This is your chance. Just do like a verse, like what you just heard. We all get the point. We have some fun with it. And I will say it is my absolute single favorite show that we do every year. I love this show. I always put in at least one. People hate it. a lot of times I make it even worse by doing 2 or 3. So you will get to hear me and make fun of me. So
I mean, there's some really good ones. Danny and I a couple of years ago were riffing, and it was right after the Cubs had traded Christopher Morel, and we came up with the second Morel.
yeah, about his
Like
his
not
brother,
the first,
right?
not the first Morel, the second Morel. And yeah, because we have Christopher Morel's little brother in the Cubs system. His name is Raphael, and so there is the second Noel, the second Morel is my favorite Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Oh,
I look forward to falling in love with him and then Jed trading him away.
Bernie Barron did Clark the Cub to the whatever the donkey song is. You know what I'm saying? The Christmas. There's a Christmas song about donkeys.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I know. I remember her version of it too.
I had never heard of that song before in my life, and she sang Clark the Cub, and I loved it. That's my favorite. Like I so enjoyed that. First off, I found a new Christmas song that I had never heard, but her version was amazing. And then John Pincus did a version of what is it, the Nutcracker Suite.
Oh yeah,
Oh
I
my
remember.
God. That blew my mind. That was really long too. He put a ton of work into that. Like so good. So please, everybody out there, be a part. Dominic the Donkey, yes.
The band director is like, yes, I know the answer. Also, thank you for the kind words, David. I definitely missed a couple of notes there, but that's not Silver Bells is not really in my repertoire, so I was kind of riffing.
It's really hard to do that stuff, especially on like boom, let's just go.
Totally cold, no rehearsal. Yeah.
It was impressive.
Well, I like second glass of wine, so I can just lay it all out there.
It's karaoke time.
Well,
Dude, were you at the last time we did Ranters karaoke?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I will just say we were at Nisei Lounge. We did Ranters karaoke, or the last time I was there. They might have done it since then that I wasn't there, but the last time I was there, and for the second or third song, I must have been very wasted. I did Madonna's Like a Prayer, and I nailed it. And then I stepped off the stage.
I wish I could have seen it. This is one of the most fun things we do. I want to see everybody, do a recording, do a video, do a TikTok, whatever you're going to do. Just get out there. And look, it's even easier than it ever has been. Throw it into ChatGPT and let them write the damn thing.
No.
But
Absolutely
you
fucking not. No.
But you have to sing it.
No.
But you have, as long as you're singing
carols,
it,
people.
I'm with
AI is bad. AI is bad. Listen, here's
agreed.
the trick. Here's the trick to writing your own Christmas carol. It is not hard. Look at the number of syllables, make sure they match, and just go. That's it. That's the whole trick to the thing. No Chat GPT. We are not Chat GPTing the ranter carols. No. Nope.
I'm just trying to help people get to the point where they're at least singing. So look, I agree with you. The AI stuff drives me nuts, but if I can get a few more songs out of some of these people, that's what I want to see. I want to see what they came up with, because the GPT is not going to do anything that somebody isn't telling it to do. It's just going to help them with it. That's my hope.
Dude, it's so easy. I literally, so this weekend I was at my parents' house and the University of Utah was behind and they needed to win a big game. Anyway, don't worry about it. I rewrote the Utah fight song for our dog Quinn. She's a golden lab, and I made the Utah fight song is called Utah Man Am I, which yes has pissed me off when I was a woman at Utah, but that's another story entirely. But it works really well for a Utah dog am I, and I rewrote the whole song for our puppy.
Oh, that's nice. But that is true. But Sarah, you do have to remember, not everyone is as brilliant as we are.
That's not it's syllables,
we are
it's
so
syllables.
good at this. I'm just trying to give people a performance enhancing drug so that they can play on the same field with me.
Steroids are bad, Cotton.
All right. Well, we're gonna close this thing up. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters. Hey, shout out to Yumper. We went over 2 hours. We went 2.5 hours. Good Lord.
Chance. Are you doing the chance?
No,
Oh.
absolutely not. I can't do that shit. That's a whole nother thing.
People have been saying chance in the chat all night.
Have they?
Yes.
Oh,
We have
my
multiple
bad.
chances in the chat.
Well, luckily, I never said that they should put chances in the chat. So I guess they took a chance and they lost. But thank you to our Patreon supporters.
That's your message of doom, folks.
Especially Blake Beard, Rogue Wave Creative, our sponsors, Matt Cameras, Permanent Paintings on Etsy, In the Clutch T-shirts. Thank you so much. And I asked Danny to load this video in. This is from, I believe it was after the 2015 season. And we were all sad because the season was over and we didn't have, and I asked him to put this into the chat so we could end on this. I didn't realize it was going to be so completely perfect for all the things that we've talked about tonight. But that's it for us. 2.5 hours, I guess, is enough. So spagog, y'all.
Spagog.
Gog.
Oh, and here's Danny singing I Am Missing You with all sorts of ranters making guest appearances.
The Cubs season ended last Wednesday. Said see you next year to the boys in blue. I feel so lonely when there's not a game. Where did you go, Cubbies? I miss you. Gum bucket rallies and your helmet rubs. Now nothing's on when I'm watching TV. I changed the channel, but there's no Cubs. Arrieta, Rizzo, hear my plea. Schwarber, Soler, come back to Wrigley. Remember how they played, sitting in the stands, beer bottle in my hand. I am missing you. Extra inning nights and 120 start days. Why did you go away? I am missing you. We spent the summer in this lakeshore town, chasing the Cardinals and the Pirates. We hit the playoffs and mowed them down. But then that October night we faced the Mets. The Cubs hit a wall, now I can't forget. Remember how they played, sitting in the stands, beer bottle in my hand. I am missing you. Extra inning nights and 120 start days. Why did you go away? I am missing you. We've had our good and bad times. We love the Russell trade. Now all the 2015 Cubs games have been played, and now you're feeling so lonely. The Cubs season ended last Wednesday. Goodbye, baseball. baseball and boys in blue. Next year, promise me that you'll go